Part 162. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1614. Jiarong smiled bitterly, because he could tell from the eyes and attitude of this stellar powerhouse that the genius battlefield where he just wanted to show off his talents was already a hell-level place that was extremely difficult to cross. My father, Jia Yan, passed the customs and even became famous throughout the ages. So what's the point of him coming here? Yi Jiayan is famous here, can he do the same thing, or even surpass him? Also, who is he? The giant mosquito? Or the earthling Jiayan? Jiarong actually wanted to know who Jiayan was. If he was the so-called giant mosquito, then he wouldn't have much difficulty accepting it, because Satsuma Temple had given him relevant education since he was a child. We know each other, so there is nothing that Jiarong cannot accept when he suddenly learns such news. The only thing he couldn't accept was that Jiayan was actually a giant mosquito. And what kind of evolutionary beast is it? So, his son, is he also an evolved beast? Unfortunately, he doesn't feel like an evolved beast. Here we are, this is the dark zone of the central star field. It is an area that wanders between the regular star zone and the black zone. It contains your father's power. The huge warships that were moving quickly did not need to go to the weak star field. They were even led by a star-level expert in the genius battlefield and went directly to the central star field in the genius battlefield. Here, there is a dark area that has been slowly developing recently. There is an extremely terrifying force inside that has gradually become the number one force in this dark area. The terrifying thing about this power, apart from the terrifying power of it, what is even more surprising is that its strongest expert is only half the size of a star. This must be extremely shocking to the creatures who have just arrived. You must know that this is the central star field of the genius battlefield. Let alone a half-star force with less than a strong person here, even if there are half-star strong people, the forces in charge can hardly be said to maintain a huge force unless they are top-notch geniuses. But this force is different. There is no extremely powerful person, but there are still surrounding dark forces, all of whom bow to them. Tingtian Pavilion. What a terrestrial name, and an artistic conception that only the Chinese can understand. After Jiarong knew the name of the dark force, he fell silent again. For him, after being in the universe for so many years, he has become indifferent to certain things on Earth. He has even slowly given up on things like the nation. But here, he saw that Jiayan, the figure who was suspected of being his father, actually established an organization that clearly had an earthly atmosphere, so he fell silent. That's right, Tingtian Pavilion. After your father moved to fight against the Wuxi forces, the 132 Star District, and the Tianhe forces, he came here and established the Tingtian Pavilion. Because of his existence, the Tingtian Pavilion, even though the pavilion does not have even 1.5 stars, there is still no force that dares to make plans here. Okay, it's not convenient for me to go out. After all, a star-level existence is also an official expert in genius battlefield. It's not suitable to appear in front of ordinary creatures. You can go out by yourself. As long as you say that you are Jiayan's descendant, I'm sure Tingtian Pavilion will treat you well. Remember what I said. After a few months at most, you'd better go to another force in the central star region. In this force, if you don't have the guidance of a strong person with good talent, you will definitely not be able to follow. Just like your father, he walked his own path of strength. The star-level existence that led Jiarong to the Tingtian Pavilion in the Dark Realm used its star-level strength to easily prevent the Tingtian Pavilion and the surrounding forces and powerful people from seeing it. He and Jiarong's battleship, but when leaving, he still told Jiarong to join other forces. Of course, what he meant was that Jiarong joined the genius force he supported, otherwise he wouldn't have spent so much money leading Jiarong into the genius battlefield. Although he acted more enthusiastic and friendly, Jiarong seemed not to have seen all this. Hearing that this star-level existence was leaving, he quickly stopped him with words. Wait a minute, Senior, you said that my father can create his own power here, but I can't. Could it be that you see that I am not as good as him? This is what Jiarong has always wanted to ask. The stellar being was startled. Then he looked at Jiarong strangely. Then he also smiled bitterly. Son, haven't you heard me explain everything about your father? I don't know how he is elsewhere, but at least in our genius battlefield, the speed of promotion along the way is like flying on an airplane. It has been a few months since I came to the center of the star territory with you. During this time, you have not made any progress. But if it were your father, in these few months, your strength would have improved. He is soaring up like a rocket. You have to know that he is already a star-level existence. I even suspect that he has reached a level that I can't even imagine. And who of you says he is his son? According to life, judging from your physical signs, the age difference between you two is actually not much different. At least from the perspective of old guys like us who have lived for hundreds or thousands of years, the time difference between you is simply insignificant. But with this little time difference, your strength is so far behind him. Do you really think that you can catch up with him with your talent? Haha, but I also know that your talent is pretty good. Yes, in this genius battlefield, you are at least among the top geniuses. After all, you are also his child. Although the talent of the evolved beast cannot be passed down from generation to generation, it is certain that the children will have good talents, and your genes are very obvious. There are no traces of debugging. I have to say that your birth is a miracle. Generally speaking, it is impossible for a creature like yours to debug the innate genes. This also shows that your talent is absolutely the top level. But this top level refers to comparison with our ordinary creatures, but you want to compare with an evolutionary beast, even with your evolutionary beast father who according to statistics, has the fastest promotion speed. That would be too difficult, or maybe I'm kidding. The star-level creature shook his head. I can't possibly surpass him. Jiarong only felt waves of shock, and then he seemed to have completely lost his strength. He stepped back and stood in the center of the battleship with a wry smile. Child, I'm leaving. After I leave, your battleship will be exposed to the observation of Tingtian Pavilion. Communicate with them well. If you get tired of staying in the future, I will help other forces who come to the Central Star Territory for you. Recommended. This stellar being knew that Jiarong seemed to have always had the idea of confrontation with his father. At this moment, seeing Jiarong's complete disappointment and even despair, he felt a little helpless and quietly retreated. In fact, after he had summed up Jia Yan from the bottom of his heart, and then looked at Jia Yan's clone-like power, he knew that Jia Yan was probably far beyond his imagination, and it might even be impossible for him to have even the slightest bit of power. Possibility exceeds the existence of stellar back orders. So looking at Jia Yan's son who is talented, but really not up to Jia Yan's level, I feel a little helpless for this child. If he didn't have that kind of father, this child's talent would definitely be top-notch. Even in this genius battlefield, he should be a top-notch genius that countless top forces would fight for. But with that father, all his talents were covered up by his father. Even when talking about his talents, many people would probably say that they were inherited from his father. Of course, this is indeed true. There are battleships there, such huge battleships. No, this should be the battleship of a star-level warrior. Is there any master from the genius battlefield here? What a terrifying battleship, even more terrifying than Master Jia Yan's battleship back then. When the star-level creatures left, the battleship where Jiarong was located appeared in Tingtian Pavilion's field of vision. It didn't take long for a large group of battleships to surround them. Even for Tingtian Pavilion, if such a terrifying battleship were to fight, the firepower of the battleships alone might not be something they could withstand. But at least they have to resist. Maybe if they come up with the name of the owner of their own power, the owner of the battleship will look at that adult's face and maybe let them go. Hey, no, why does this battleship not have the aura of a star-level powerhouse? It is only 2.5 stars. It's still less than the semi-permanent peak. Can they have such a battleship? People inside, listen, this is our Tingtian Pavilion sphere of influence, please leave. The outside Tingtian Pavilion forces and creatures drove battleships to the side of this huge battleship one by one. We are Lord Jiarong's subordinates. Lord Jiarong is Lord Jia Yan's son. Why don't you welcome him quickly? When the creatures in the battleship sent such a message to the Tingtian Pavilion battleship outside, the creatures in the entire Tingtian Pavilion force suddenly became noisy. What? Master Jia Yan's son, is that his son? Master Jia Yan seems to have never told us that he has a son. No, Lord Jia Yan shouldn't be very powerful when he was in our dark territory. Did he actually have a child at that time? Don't all strong people want to cultivate a child with powerful genes when they are at their strongest? What? Stop making noise, let someone show up and take a look, and we'll know. When Jiarong silently stepped out of the huge battleship, a group of creatures who saw him were almost laughing to death. Haha, this is Lord Jia Yan's son. Not to mention his strength, even his appearance is much different. Wow, ha ha ha, I'm laughing so hard. If you want to pretend to be an adult, you have to find someone with a similar appearance. Such a being wants to be the descendant of Lord Jia Yan. He is actually a race with 4 limbs. Jia Yan Mr. Yan is a 6-legged creature with needle-shaped mouthparts, so this guy's split mouth is nothing. Yes, the biggest problem is that he is so small, just as big as my fingernail, and he actually wants to be Lord Jia Yan's son. This is so funny to me. A group of creatures all feel extremely ridiculous towards Jiarong. After all, the appearance of an earthling and the appearance of a giant mosquito are really completely different. There is nothing wrong with even saying that they are 2 extremes. Even if the genes are a little different, the difference is too exaggerated. Although the creatures around him were pointing at him and even laughing, at this moment, Jiarong turned his attention to the planet that was now extremely prosperous. Is this the place where my father, Jia Yan, stayed? Jiarong looked at the bustling city, and finally set his sights on a simple stone-like house. This house doesn't look so exquisite, but it has the atmosphere of ancient China everywhere. It seems this is the right place. Jiarong had just thought about this, but the Tingtian Pavilion creatures who didn't respond to him had already given up. This kid had just reached the starry sky level, and he actually dared to ignore them like this in Tingtian Pavilion. A mere starry sky level creature dares to look down on Tingtian Pavilion like this. Even if you are protected by 2.5 star level creatures, it will be absolutely easy for us to kill you today, and you are still showing off. Die. Inside the Tingtian Pavilion battleship over there, 2.5 star level auras suddenly appeared. Not good. In the battleship here, I never thought that if I followed my young master to the old master's power, I would encounter some dangerous half-star creatures. I instantly felt the strength of these 2 half-stars. And immediately flew out of the battleship in shock. They didn't dare to let Jiarong get hurt. If they had just had some expectations for Jiarong's family background before, now their encounter in the genius battlefield, as well as a dignified star-level existence, all have to cultivate the past along the way, making them completely understand that this own family, the young master, is really an absolutely big family. At least he is undoubtedly the son of a super powerful person. They won't do their best for this kind of thigh that they may hold. How dare you? 2.5 star level experts came to Jiarong's side and used all their strength to protect Jiarong. Poof. After 2 shocking explosions, 2 half-star auras flew out of the Tingtian Pavilion battleship, coldly knocking away the 2 half-star level experts from Jiarong's side. Huh? What a powerful half-star! Are such beings just subordinates of the force he founded? The two half-star powerhouses listened to Jiarong's words silently, and then nodded slightly. You kid, you are so calm in this situation. You are good. We were secretly arranged by Lord Jiayan to protect Tingtian Pavilion. You pretended to be our lord's heir. Now tell me how you want to die. Those two half-star level experts are the top half-star level experts in the genius battlefield. After Jiayan reached the star level, he randomly found these two people outside this dark field to protect Tingtian Pavilion. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1615. In fact, it doesn't matter whether they come or not, because inside Tingtian Pavilion, there is a clone left by Jiayan. With the protection of that clone, no matter how talented you are, it is impossible to deal with creatures that are less than a star level. Come on, Tingtian Pavilion. Am I pretending? Haha, I would rather not be his son. Unexpectedly, after the two half-star creatures said Jiarong's words that offended Jiayan, the tiny creatures they thought were just showing off and deceiving their existence actually laughed out loud in front of them. How brave! You dare to slander my lord and want to be my lord's heir. Just die and try to be reincarnated. Die. 2.5-star level stars suddenly emitted an astonishing momentum and struck at the place where Jiarong was. Their strength is completely overwhelming against the two Jiarong's protectors. After all, the creatures Jiayan personally ordered back then are not too weak in this genius battlefield, so at this moment, I simply don't believe that this starry sky level powerhouse pretending to be his own adult's child will be able to escape from their hands. Ah! Faced with such an attack, Jiarong showed no fear at all and just smiled. Okay, stop it, Rikato, fine Drug. When 2.5-star level creatures were about to attack Jiarong's body, a shocking momentum suddenly sounded from inside Jiarong's body. Inside Jiarong's body, Jiayan's power, which had almost completely lost its energy, appeared slightly weak again. Well, what kind of power is this? It seems a bit familiar. When this power appeared, the two half-star level creatures paused slightly. Of course, the main reason why they paused was because when the power appeared, they shouted out their names. Although their names were not a secret, the feeling of shouting was too familiar. It's me. This is my son. You can take him to Tingtian Pavilion and introduce him to Sibara and the others. Then, let him do whatever he wants. Jiayan's voice became weaker and weaker. Then his power disappeared. Jiarong didn't speak during the whole process, just watching the news of this power silently, but at the same moment when it disappeared, he actually felt a little heartache. Although it was Jiayan's power, this power helped him a lot along the way. If it weren't for the help of Jiayan's power, he would definitely have died long ago, let alone in this vast place that he could not even imagine. In the starry sky, he has achieved such a high status. Every time he goes to a place, it seems that there is an extremely terrifying strong man supporting him behind him. So he was silent and didn't know how to face the disappearance of this power. Huh? A man with this power actually calls you, what kind of son? No, this voice and the feeling of power look like Lord Jiayan. Could it be that he really is Lord Jiayan? The two half-star level experts were immediately shocked at this moment. Earlier, they were actually completely conquered by Jiayan after he was promoted to a star and returned to the genius battlefield. Then they became the overt and covert protectors of Tingtian Pavilion, and over the years they had also heard rumors of Jiayan's terrifying strength after he achieved star level, so they were dedicated to their protection work, even if other news spread later. Come, it is said that Jiayan has died on the way to the Stellar Academy. They still don't think that an evolved beast that can be promoted to a star will die so easily. With their loyalty to Jiayan, how could they not know that the evolved beast is an extremely terrifying talent? If Jiayan was still alive now, he might be a super powerful person that they could not even imagine. The creatures that release power must at least be above the mid-level star level. If this is Lord Jiayan, perhaps this starry sky level child is really Lord Jiayan's child. At this moment, the two half-star level creatures immediately became much more respectful. Of course, the next process was also very simple. After talking about some of Jiarong's past, especially some of Jiayan's deeds, they almost concluded that this creature who seemed different from Jiayan was actually Jiayan, the Lord's heir. So a grand welcome and turmoil among the surrounding forces began. Jiarong, a child who is struggling in pain, does not know that his current pain is what many creatures are looking forward to, because he has a strong generation as his backer, even if he is a starry sky level, but in the genius battlefield where any creature can crush Jiarong to death, he still lives like a high-level existence. Even several major forces in the central star field heard that the son of Jiayan is coming. Everyone was silent for a moment. Even those who had some trouble with Jiayan in the past did not dare to make any move at this moment. Some forces even hurriedly discussed whether to win over the son of the evolved beast. After all, Jiayan, the evolved beast, had reached the stellar level, and now the news brought by his son was that the evolved beast was not dead. This means that this evolved beast will continue to grow. If it can be successfully won over, it will be an extremely important foreign aid for any big force. What's more, although this Jiarong seems to be only a high-level star, he can be said to be old, and everyone knows that he has the father's talent is at a heaven-defying level, and his own talent is definitely worth looking forward to. Therefore, many large-scale genius battlefield forces are thinking about whether to win over the son of the evolved beast or even directly absorb him into their own forces. But all this has not started yet, and Jiarong does not have time to think so much. Instead, in Tingtian Pavilion, he meets Jiayan, who is covered in blood red. In the genius battlefield, he is the most powerful, and he is also the most powerful in technology. A subordinate with a high degree of dependence Spara. Oh, you are that guy's son, right? Yes, yes, come on, let's take you to visit your father's power, and then I will continue working. Sibylla was not as awed by Jiarong's existence as other subordinates. After all, she had the same feeling towards Jiayan back then. Listening to everything in Tiantian Pavilion is a process of understanding Jiayan for Jiarong, and at the same time, he is slowly gaining a deeper understanding of his father, who certainly does not seem to be from Earth. What happened far away in the genius battlefield did not have any impact on the Orion arm, which was thousands of light years away. But Jiayan here is a little different from what Jiarong knows. That is, Jiayan actually doesn't know about power at all, but he knows it completely. Because Jiayan has the talent of subspace and the talent of positive and negative power, coupled with a certain amount of quantum theory, he can create his power into a power that can be controlled by his distant self. Although this kind of control is relatively lagging, after all, they are so far apart, so Jiayan cannot control every word and action of that power, but he can receive the information from there, and at the same time, he can also generally control the thinking of that power and way of speaking. So he received everything over there. Oh, this kid has such a mental problem. I hope all this will not bury his talent. Jiayan knows that Jiarong is definitely looking for abuse when he compares his talents with his. This is not because he looks down on his son, but because Jiayan knows that the evolved beast is a creature that defies nature, and he has also encountered countless dangers and dangers in the process. Crisis, if possible, he wanted to exchange it with Jiarong, but unfortunately it was impossible, so he used such a big crisis and danger to achieve his current strength. If he didn't say this, Jiarong would not understand it at all. But actually tell Jiarong, he must not want to believe it because it was Jiayan who said it, and he has preconceived ideas. So what Jiayan is doing now is to let it go. Maybe the child will know his painstaking efforts after slowly understanding his true past. At the same time, what happened to his mother's Satsuma temple back then, Jia Yan did not. I'm not ready to say it directly, I just want to find the real answer in Jiarong's slow search process. At that time, it may be the moment when he fully understands and comes to terms with what Jia Yan has done in the past. Of course, Jia Yan still doesn't think he did anything wrong, but he just feels like forgetting it for a child. Since the child is still willing to call him dad, then he just apologizes, so what's the point? Okay, now let's take a look at the war here. Jia Yan let go of his focus on Jiarong and focused his attention on the battle in the biochemical star field here. For the biochemical star field, the Orion arm no longer has much binding force. Especially after the Empire entered the biochemical star field on a large scale, a large number of resistance forces and creatures also appeared in the other half of the area actually controlled by the Orion arm. And what makes the creatures in the other half of the biochemical star territory more happy about what they are doing is that the strong men and armies of the Orion arm often only carry out extremely exaggerated resource plundering at the actual control end of the biochemical star territory, without thinking about it. They want to control them for a long time, and as long as the local creatures in the biochemical star field do not attack the Orion arm military and political parties, they don't care what they are doing. In some places, the biochemical star field is actually forming an army and rushing to the side controlled by the Empire rescued their compatriots, but the Orion arm side also ignored it. In fact, for the Orion arm and Jia Yan, it is best for the biochemical star field to be chaotic, especially the current situation of the biochemical star field on both sides. In fact, the Orion arm does not have much sense of confrontation, or even if yes, it has been suppressed by some powerful people and forces to the point where it is almost negligible. As a result, all the pressure of combat in the biochemical star field was transferred to the Empire. Half of the biochemical star field on the Empire's side is indeed in a state of distress, especially certain strong men. They control certain parts of the biochemical star field's territory, and they cannot go to the outside world to suppress it too much, but they will not go out. In other words, ordinary strong men have no chance of defeating the strong men of the upper biochemical star field. In addition, they are basically invaders, so they are extremely embarrassed. Comparing the war on the other side, in half of the biochemical star field here, due to the chaotic rule of the Orion arm, the people in the entire star field did not have much resistance, and some people still agreed with this way of governance, because in this way, the actual management and rule are completely carried out by the biochemical star territory itself. In fact, these internal reasons are very deep. For example, it is not that the Orion arm does not want to manage more, it is just because it does not have the strength. Just like when it occupied the biochemical star territory previously, both parties knew that even if the biochemical star territory surrendered, the Orion arm it is impossible for them to really annex the biochemical star territory, but they are definitely under the management of several strong men from the giant Mosquito clan. At best, they can be regarded as equals. When the strong men from the giant Mosquito clan leave, or the strong ones are interested in this side, if there is less attention from the biochemical star territory, then the biochemical star territory will definitely make a comeback, and maybe it will swallow up the Orion arm by then. After all, it seems that the Orion arm manages the biochemical star territory on both sides, but there is a huge gap in soft and hard strength. Once there is no more absolute strong man, it is only a matter of time before the Orion arm is swallowed up. So when the members of Jia Yan's team did not take action, the officials stationed in the Orion arm thought that as long as they could plunder resources in the biochemical star field, it was considered good, and there was no need to worry about so much. In addition, the biochemical star territory did not deal with the Orion arm, and there was another more important reason. Therefore, the other half of the biochemical star territory had another enemy that they feared even more, the Empire. This enemy who hated their biochemical star field to the core, in the other half of the biochemical star field, was exactly what the people of the biochemical star field had feared, causing a wide range of killings. After all, the biochemical star territory is also a formidable enemy to the Empire, but the Empire is now relatively powerful, and the biochemical star territory was first occupied by the Orion Arm, so they don't have too many scruples when it comes to acting. Therefore, when mainly dealing with the Empire, the pressure on the Orion Arm is greatly reduced. However, the Empire is still an empire. Their strength is much stronger than when the biochemical star territory was completely victorious. When the biochemical star territory was already falling apart due to the war in the Orion Arm, the Empire only annexed half of the territory of the biochemical star territory. It is even more smooth and convenient. It is said that in the other half of the biochemical star territory, countries and civilizations close to the Empire, almost all the biochemical star territory creatures have died. The Empire is using the method of massacre to wipe out all the biochemical star territory people and then replace them with my own people. No wonder the people in the biochemical star territory are so against them. And the Empire has recently sent troops. It feels a little bit ready to invade us. Jia Yan looked at the information and was silent for a long time. In fact, he didn't want to save the biochemical star territory at all, and if all the creatures in the biochemical star territory were wiped out, he also thought about getting some people from the Orion Arm to completely transform it into the Orion Arm. But in fact this is not possible. A new book will be released soon and it will be under the Bayou account. In other words, the book Giant Mosquito will probably be finished soon. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1616. Jia Yan feels that having more people in the biochemical star territory will be a good thing for his future plans and interstellar affairs, because he knows that his strength may be effective against the Empire, but there is something more behind the Empire. The terrifying galaxy level, and even the territory lord level existence in this vast star field. With his current strength, let alone a domain lord level being, even an ordinary galaxy being would be impossible to defeat. Whether he could even escape was a huge question mark. So this biochemical star field must not be lost easily. Even if we pay something, we must buy time, not for this war, but for my improvement time. In this way, I will go over to see the situation personally. If I have a chance, I will secretly test this so-called empire. Speaking of which, I have dealt with many forces that claim to be empires. Will this empire? What about the next destroyed empire that I will deal with? Haha. Jia Yan has long been familiar with the so-called empire. After all, to him, names like empire represent the degree of arrogance of that civilization in the process of evolution. In fact, every ancient civilization has similar characteristics in terms of country names. For example, the Huaxia people call themselves the Central Dynasty. This is normal for many civilizations. After all, they were powerful at the time, and they were more powerful. Because I didn't know much about the outside world, this name gradually became solidified. But such a civilization is not necessarily very pedantic. For example, the Huaxia people, after accepting the fact that they are weak, can often burst out with terrifying power. This is an ancient civilization with no cultural gaps. What can be done can often be quickly changed in the bones. After all, if one does not know how to adapt, this kind of civilization would have perished long ago. The same is true for the Empire, and it is a civilization that has survived for so long in the interstellar world and is even now extremely powerful, so Jia Yan does not underestimate him. Boom! A shocking figure slid quickly through the subspace. Jia Yan's strength, over the years, is still slowly climbing towards the galaxy stage, but the galaxy stage is like a gap as big as half a star to a star plus, and it is even more terrifying, so it is not that something that can be broken through easily. So in these years, he just summarized his yin and yang Dao again, and then made some understanding of his future promotion plan, and was fully prepared for promotion. Everything is actually a race against time. For him, everything is to reach the galaxy level. If he can reach the galaxy level, most of the problems he is facing now will completely disappear. Even after reaching the galaxy level, apart from the territory lord, he no longer has many threats, because even if it is an ordinary galaxy level existence, Jia Yan believes that it will be difficult for him to threaten his life again. Of course, the existence of the galaxy level cannot be ignored by anyone. Even if he really reaches the galaxy level one day, it is unlikely that he can directly crush the ordinary galaxy level. Because at that level, no matter who is strong, their talents cannot be underestimated. Even their talents are not lower than those of the evolved beasts in some star fields. Although speaking of it, every time the evolved beasts reach the existence of the galaxy class can suppress other galaxy classes, but in history, it is not that there is no galaxy class of the same class that can defeat a senior evolution beast galaxy class. Of course, that is difficult to do. The evolved beast is still a heaven-defying existence, but if you find the right way, or if the attributes are incompatible, defeating the evolved beast one-on-one will be nothing at the level of galaxy level or territory lord level. Jia Yan was flying all the way, thinking about the promotion and the thoughts and ideas of fighting against the galaxy class after promotion. For others, it would be difficult to advance, and they would even be stuck at the galaxy level threshold for a lifetime, but for Jia Yan, it seemed like it didn't exist. He also believes that he can easily reach the galaxy, it just takes a certain amount of time. My yin and yang path is definitely on the right track. Now the other opposite path is about to reach the star level. As long as I reach the star level, I have 2 star levels in one body. The strength, or even another opposite force, because it has reached the galaxy level, the nature of the power has changed. It is no longer the power of gods, or the power of the powerful in the universe, but has become the yin and yang that fit me. The essence of this power is the opposite path, so my sense of strength will no longer give people the sense of strength of a simple strong man in the universe, or a strong person in the spirit and creature. This has the advantage that my strength will be faster promotion, but it also has a disadvantage, that is, people from the outside world, looking at my strength, definitely know that I am not a strong person in the universe, but a being who wants to find my own path, so they will definitely attack me again. Jia Yan knew that this was as terrifying as the fact that he was an evolved beast. To put it bluntly, Jia Yan is an evolved beast. Only those star realms that had fought with the evolved beasts in the past, or the existence of close star realms who felt a sense of threat due to the terrifying talent of the evolved beasts, would be hostile to him. But if Jia Yan says that he is a creature creator from another system, then by then, there will definitely be a larger and more powerful person in the vast area who is full of hostility towards Jia Yan. You must know that this is something that subverts the current cosmic cultivation system. If Jia Yan is allowed to create a new popular system, then it is foreseeable that the galaxy will become full of wars for at least 1,000,000 years in the future, because the new system is at war with the old system. Neither side will give in. It's hard to say who will win between the old and the new, but the damage and threat caused will definitely not be small. But all this is inevitable. Jia Yan creates a new system. He will not just let himself practice. Whether it is beneficial in terms of promotion or letting others practice, he can also brainstorm and even continue to let others practice. When it comes to becoming stronger, he will not give in to the old system. So at this moment, he was about to be completely exposed to his new system, feeling both worried and a little excited and looking forward to it. There is still about a month to fly there. In this month, I will try to cultivate another power to the star level. By then, the only person in the entire starry sky who can truly claim to be the yin and yang Dao, the person who will truly appear, will be me. Jia Yan knew that he could not be said to be a person of yin and yang Dao before, Because the power in his body was simulated from the divine system? Although it was much better than his subordinates who fully studied the divine system, but after all, it is not a complete yin and yang system, so it cannot even call itself a yin and yang system. But after reaching the stellar level, he can call himself this. A month is actually very fast, but in the biochemical star field, the war process in a month seems relatively slow. Because everything seems to be speeding up. The war in half of the biochemical star territory is rapidly spreading towards the other half, the area of the biochemical star territory controlled by the Orion Arm. No matter which half of the biochemical star field, they are carrying out crazy resistance against the invasion of the Empire, and even the extent of this resistance makes the Orion Arm creatures watching the scene feel extremely scared, because they entered the biochemical star field. In the star field, if the biochemical star field also puts up such resistance, not to mention the creatures in the Orion Arm, even Jia Yan's invincible subordinates, it is difficult to say that they will not be injured. Biostar is so crazy. What? In yesterday's war, the Nada star in the biochemical star field actually died together with the invading enemies, and the whole star self-destruct. Oh my god. When she heard this message, it was when Relancy, who was in charge of the main console in the other half of the star field, was carrying out tasks such as business defense. When she heard the news, her expression was full of shock. After all, as the top person who leads half of the biochemical star territory, or on an equal footing with another group of Jia Yan's subordinates, she has always believed that the people of the biochemical star territory is relatively obedient, even if there is a certain resistance movement, but to her, it is just a ringworm disease. But now she heard that the other half of the planets in the biochemical star territory dared to sacrifice the life of an entire planet to resist the invasion of the Empire, and perished together with the Empire's overwhelming military strength and strong men. This made her slightly shocked. You must know that the self-destruction of a planet will cause a huge sensation in the surrounding subspace or gravitational waves. The impact will make any escape method impossible, so even a star-level strong people will be seriously injured or even die in such a huge and terrifying impact. In fact, this situation does occur. A star-level Empire strongman died without even firing a single move during this self-destruction. When Lawrence read the news, she was even more shocked. For her, star-level creatures are difficult to kill by ordinary creatures, especially the self-exploding planet. Previous intelligence showed that, let alone star-level creatures, even half-star-level creatures can only survive two. It's just one person, but they never expected that in such a war, they would actually cause the death of a strong star-level enemy. Of course, this was in exchange for their entire planet's life. We need to improve the strength positioning of the biochemical star field life forms. If we encounter such counterattacks and moves, we may also cause such huge casualties. Luo Longxi looked slightly higher at the life forms in the biochemical star field. But what she didn't know was that all of this was based on the nation's past hatred and the Empire's past treatment of the beings in the biochemical star territory. If it were the creatures in the Orion Arm, the biochemical star realm wouldn't be so stupid, and they would die together with you. Sir, a man who calls himself an assassin came to our headquarters and said he wanted to meet with you. Suddenly, a voice reached Luo Longxi's ears. After hearing the news, Luo Longxi saw a half-star strong man coming to report. This was also a strong man who took the initiative to come to her side and serve as a guard after the surrender of the biochemical star territory. Although everyone knows that this must be a spy from the biochemical star territory, Luo Longxi doesn't care, and the other Jia Yan subordinates also don't care, because this kind of existence is extremely useful if they make use of it. The chess piece, and such a creature has half-star strength. Compared with the creatures in Hunter Arm that don't even have half-star strength, she still prefers strong subordinates with such strength. Huh? You want to see me? Why don't you stop me? That's not right. Luo Longxi originally wanted to send this subordinate away directly. After all, there were countless people who wanted to see her every day. Generally speaking, those entities would be screened, but this time, she didn't even report the person's background. A subordinate came directly to report, "What's going on?" Just as she was thinking about this subordinate's fault, Luo Longxi was slightly startled, and then said hurriedly, "I understand, please come here, and I will meet him personally." The reason why Luo Longxi was stunned was because she just released her brainwave power and didn't notice the existence of any creature outside her headquarters tent. Moreover, the attitude of this subordinate seemed to be that he knew what was coming. It's definitely not an ordinary creature. "Hey, Lawrence, it seems you are a bit wary here." Suddenly, before the subordinate could go over and invite outsiders in, a voice suddenly appeared from beside Luo Longxi. In this cosmic area, Luo Longxi was in a huge battleship, and this battleship was provided by a very powerful man from the biochemical star field. Its original size was about more than 20 kilometers. It looked so huge that it was barely enough for Luo Longxi. But the sudden appearance of the creature just appeared on the side of this huge battleship. Its size was actually half the length of this battleship. It even had a faint momentum. When it just appeared, it completely overwhelmed the battleship. It seemed that with one movement, it would cause this terrifying star-class battleship to capsize directly. "Master Jia Yan, you are here." When Luo Longxi saw this creature, she took in a breath of cold air, and then quickly greeted it with great respect. The existence of the biochemical star field on the other side was also slightly shocked at this moment. Sure enough, this is the giant mosquito ancestor that appears in the albums and promotional videos. It is also the evolved beast creature that we know here. It's scary. His strength is too terrifying. When he showed up just now and asked me to report, I knew that his strength was much stronger than that of Lady Relancy. Even if someone with the strength of Lady Relancy is me, I don't know, but I do know that this lady is definitely far superior to Lady Relancy. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1617. It goes without saying that Jia Yan's strength is strong, and Luo Longxi's strength is also a little stronger than the average mid-level star. So when the two of them arrived at the starry sky, everything around them seemed to suddenly solidify, completely immersed in some kind of glue-like feeling. But this feeling goes as quickly as it comes. Moreover, such a powerful intention indeed caused great panic when Jia Yan first arrived. However, when all the Orion Arm soldiers knew that the visitor was the old man of the giant Mosquito clan who the Orion Arm truly relied on. At the time of their ancestors, their fear suddenly turned into joy. Haha, the giant Mosquito ancestor has arrived in person. The ancestor's strength is so terrifying. We analyzed it earlier and found that it is probably only a little stronger than Lord Relancy and the others. Who said last time that the ancestor of the giant mosquito was not powerful? Now you have seen it. I have said it. If the strength of the ancestor is not strong, how could it be possible for the ancestors such as Lord Relancy to be so respectful and obedient to him? Woolen cloth. Yes, everything you said is right. I remember that you also thought that the ancestor was not strong. Each member of the La Longxi fleet was extremely surprised by the sudden appearance of Jia Yan. You must know that their battleship group is close to the center line of the biochemical star field, and now it is just at the edge of the two halves of the biochemical star field, bordering the other half of the extremely chaotic biochemical star field area. Therefore, it is possible for them to have a war anytime here. Even the strength of the Empire has long been heard in the ears of the ordinary soldiers of the Orion Arm, which makes them also panic. After all, to be honest, except for those who surrendered from the biochemical star territory, the soldiers of the Orion Arm are almost all weak. Without the help of the subordinates of the giant mosquito seniors, the biochemical star territory would casually send out one or two. The strong ones can completely wipe out the Orion Arm. Facing an empire that was even more powerful than the biochemical star territory, the Orion arm was even more stunned, feeling that it was impossible to deal with it. And now, the real number one warrior in the Orion arm, Jia Yan, came to this war zone. Naturally, the soldiers were extremely happy and excited. "Sir, I wonder why you came to this war zone in person this time." Luo Longxi still felt a little strange about Jia Yan's personal arrival. As one of Jia Yan's core subordinates, she certainly knew Jia Yan's plans and agreed with Jia Yan's ideas. That is to exchange space for time. With the biochemical star field, you can even use part of the Orion arm star field in exchange for a certain amount of time. For Jia Yan, these times are extremely precious, because his talent is good. If he has so much in a short amount of time, you can quickly reach the galaxy level. But it has only been 6 or 7 years now, and Jia Yan has arrived near this war zone. Could it be that he has reached the galaxy level? Luo Longxi didn't believe it. She also knew that Jia Yan's talent was good. It would take 20 years to reach the galaxy level. This was the minimum time requirement. Even if it was an existence that defied the heavens, it would take that long. And even being able to reach the galaxy from the backstage of a star in 20 years is already an unprecedented speed. So what is Jia Yan here for? Lao Longxi, actually after I practiced for a few years, I discovered that some of my previous ideas were wrong. Jia Yan sighed lightly. As an evolved beast, my promotion speed along the way is actually obtained by fighting and war. So if I want to improve my strength quickly, fighting is actually the fastest way. If I really fight, I will find a good opponent can be exchanged for at least 10 years of hard training. In other words, if I can have an evenly matched enemy to fight with me now, maybe I can be promoted to galaxy immediately. Jia Yan revealed the biggest reason in his heart for coming here this time. It took 20 years to reach the galaxy, which was still a bit slow for Jia Yan, and he knew that the evolved beasts had always relied on slowly getting stronger in battles, and had become the so-called fighting gets stronger and stronger evolution. Beast, even in his previous promotions, it was because of the battles that he was able to improve his strength at such a speed that even the previous evolved beast seniors could not match it. So after Jia Yan thought about this, he made his current decision, which was to go to the edge of the battlefield to see if there was any chance for him to fight. "Sir, didn't you say that you are not ready to start a life and death battle with that empire now? But if you take action now, the empire will definitely not compromise easily." Luo Longxi felt even more shocked at Jia Yan's words, because these words were a bit insincere and changed too much from Jia Yan's previous 20-year plan. "Things always fail to keep up with plans, Rolancy, and I am not planning to use my real body to go to war directly, but I am planning to use my clones. You know, I have a lot of clones. If I take them out one by one, if so, my current control power is probably at the level of a primary star, or even a little bit stronger, so I can be considered a powerful player in the battle." The words Jia Yan said made Luo Longxi's expression suddenly change. She didn't know yet that the strength of Jia Yan's clone could actually reach the star level. So that meant that the strength of their subordinates was only a little stronger than Jia Yan's clone? This is not possible. As Jia Yan's capable subordinate, she fully understands how many clones Jia Yan has. If Jia Yan's strength continues to improve and the clone's strength continues to reach a more terrifying level, then the status of their subordinates will become even more embarrassing. After making up her mind to speed up her cultivation in the future and at least not be surpassed by Lord Jia Yan's clone, Luo Longxi responded positively to Jia Yan's words. "Sir, if you don't have to go to the war with your real body, you will actually have an opportunity right away, because some of the strong men from the biochemical star field have already come to my starry sky, and the war may start at any time." "Oh? The Empire is so bold?" Jia Yan was slightly surprised. He remembered that the last time he saw the intelligence, he said that because the Empire had some scruples, even if there were some signs of wanting to take action, it was still relatively restrained. I heard that the Empire got the support of a large star field with a galaxy level behind them, so I wanted to take action directly. Luo Longxi's answer made Jia Yan silent for a while. The Galaxy Jew is still a hurdle that Jia Yan cannot overcome. After all, for him, the galaxy level is still impossible to defeat for him now. Even though he had successfully turned his two powers into stellar strength during the time he flew to the border, the mutual sense of strength was already extremely harmonious. At least compared to a few years ago, the strength has fundamentally changed. But even so, he still didn't think it was possible to cause an absolute confrontation with a galaxy-level person. At least two powers must reach the late star level. In other words, I am still a little short of a chance. Jia Yan breathed a sigh of relief, and then, under the arrangement of Luo Longxi, he met with the senior officials of the Starfield Defense Fleet. Of course, for him, any high-level position is of little significance. It is just for the sake of seeing and giving reassurance to his subordinates. It turns out that our giant mosquito ancestors are so terrifying. We have a chance to defeat the Empire in the future. Haha, the true strength of the ancestor is at least a star queen. And in my opinion, his star strength is not an ordinary star queen. The strongest people in the Empire are only the two stellar queens. Although some people say that their empire has 3 stellar back orders, if the ancestors operate well and fight separately, they may still have a chance. In the battleship group in the La Longxi area, the top management composed of the Orion arm and a small number of strong people from the biochemical star field all breathed a sigh of relief. They have always been worried that if the war in the other half of the biochemical star field spreads here, what can they do to resist the terrible strong men and troops of the Empire? Now the giant mosquito ancestor has arrived, instead of the current situation where they had expected that the giant mosquito clan would retreat. Therefore, the morale of the whole army was greatly improved instantly. In an instant, on the other side of the battle line, the front armies led by several Jia Yan subordinates were all very excited. They felt enthusiastic about the arrival of the ancestor of the giant mosquito, as if it were a festival. However, Jia Yan, the senior giant mosquito ancestor, quickly retreated into the subspace after arriving at Luo Longxi's warship. For a long time, except for Luo Longxi and other powerful people, all while the ancestor of the giant mosquito was still out there, no other senior officials or soldiers had ever seen the terrifying beast that was as large as 10 kilometers. But what the other senior officials and soldiers didn't know was that not long after Jia Yan's true form arrived in person, there were super small ships inside the war zone on Luo Longxi's side, but they were extremely fast. The warships quickly charged towards various war zones in all directions. These warships were originally used to deliver certain signals or deliver certain emergency supplies. But now, these ultra-small fast ships are carrying some unique creatures. Some of these creatures look like Earthlings, and they look almost exactly the same as Earthlings. In fact, they are also creatures that appear to be Earthlings. The other part is a creature that people on Earth will definitely not recognize when they see it. For example, it is like a giant mosquito with a pair of wings but no mouth parts. There are also creatures that are like flies with big compound eyes. There are also some, such as apes, giant wolves, and so on. These creatures actually have a single thought controller. That is Jia Yan. Everyone, except for a few members of Jia Yan's team, did not know the real reason behind this. Their other senior leaders only knew that each battleship was large or small, or looked relatively weak, or was almost all of the seemingly powerful creatures are clones of Jia Yan himself. Oh, these clones prepared in Taia Kingdom have all been used. It seems that the original preparation was not wasted. It turns out that these various clones were all made by Jia Yan at a huge cost when he passed through Taia Kingdom on the road. Kama and others from Taia Kingdom spent a lot of money to make them. After all, for Jia Yan, his brainwave power is getting more and more powerful. It's scary, so the cost of creating a clone is much smaller than before, so it's better to do more. It's just that it's impossible for Jia Yan to control these clones at once, so many clones almost have the same sense of state, that is, they hardly speak or move, they just wait quietly, so that the person responsible for transporting them can. The senior leaders of the fleet all felt a sense of panic. This gentleman has been in our battleship for a long time. He hardly moves or speaks, and his momentum is amazing. He must be at least venerable level. No wonder he needs to be transported by our battleship. He must have good combat effectiveness. Venerable? According to me, it might be a semi-star powerhouse who surrendered in the biochemical star field. If so, then our battleship is really responsible for a big shot. It's still half-star. Why didn't you say it was star level? Half-star powerhouses are not transported by small battleships like ours. Everyone has their own super-fast ship. Among these battleships responsible for transportation, many weak soldiers from the Orion arm felt a little bit of admiration for the masters in their battleships. But Jia Yan still said that he would not let his clone move to deal with the words of these weaklings. And just as battleships were carrying his clones one after another, they were heading towards the defense battle zones that were responsible for the subordinates of Jia Yan's team. Sir, there is news from the front line that the Empire has actually taken action. One of the defense lines has been defeated. Master Tianyi Alang has rushed there, but he is expected to arrive slower than our battleship. What should we do? A panicked voice suddenly appeared in the super-fast battleship, and then the captain of the battleship came to Jia Yan's clone in the battleship and asked respectfully and anxiously. Did the Empire actually choose this place? Ha, it did choose a good place. In a room inside the battleship, a giant ape-like creature silently closed its eyes. When the captain came outside the room, the creature opened its eyes. The battleship captain definitely didn't want to go to the place where the fighting broke out. After all, just as the ordinary soldiers in the battleship guessed, even the captain of the battleship only believed that Jia Yan's clone was only half-star level, and a half-star master plus a super fighter with no combat capabilities. What role can a fast ship play when it reaches the front line where the war breaks out? He didn't want to die. He originally thought that Jia Yan's clone in the room definitely thought the same way, so he came over to ask, just wanting to put the responsibility on this mysterious strong man. But what shocked him was that after being silent for a while, the strong man said directly, "Drive over to support the battlefield, and I will take action myself." Haha, maybe what I said about finishing is a little different from what everyone understands as finishing. What I said about finishing is that it will take at least 2 or 3 months to write. I will write a good ending, not a bad ending. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1618. Take action? Are you stupid? You are an existence of at most half a star level. In such a war, it doesn't matter if you take action. The captain almost spit out a mouthful of blood. He knew that the man in his battleship would be an extremely powerful man, but this kind of man was strong in his eyes and might be considered the most terrifying existence within the arms of Orion. But in this battlefield where the biochemical star field and the Empire play the leading role, as the captain of the Orion arm battleship, he is fully aware that the strong man of the Orion arm is really nothing here. Without the Orion arm, the giant Mosquito ancestor and several of the ancestor's subordinates, the Orion arm, would only be an ant-like character between the two star regions. So when this creature, who was at most half a star in his eyes, said that he would take action, the captain was about to spit out the words. That's what he wanted to say. Brothers, you've been pretending to be a master all the way, can you stop pretending now? In a truly terrifying battlefield, let alone an ordinary half-star, even if it reaches the pseudo-star level, it may not have any huge effect in that kind of battlefield. Only star-level experts have a certain chance to dominate the war in an area on the battlefield. But can the Orion arm be found at the stellar level? In other words, there are only a few subordinates of the giant Mosquito ancestor who are star-level experts, and they have jumped to the middle level star level in one jump, and they are not even at the first level star level. Next, there is not even 1.5 star level experts in the Orion arm. The talent gap is so terrible that in the war between the biochemical star territory and the Empire, the Orion arm has no choice but to have one person in name only. Apart from the right to speak, there is no more right to speak. The half-star level creature in front of him should be from the biochemical star field. For the captain who commanded the fleet, the biochemical star field is not a good place, and the strong people here are not his favorite, because of the war that year. Here, many of his friends and comrades in arms died at the hands of such strong men in the biochemical star field. My lord, I think our strength is not enough to deal with the newly opened battle line, so we should follow the initial mission process and go where we want to go. The captain said this to the giant ape creature in front of him. Oh? Do you think so? But I still stick to my opinion. Forget it, since you don't want to go, I will go on my own. You can stop the battleship. After saying that, the ape-like creature went to the bridge outside the battleship and prepared to disembark from the battleship. My lord, if you do this, it will be very difficult for us. The captain didn't expect that this strong man in his battleship would be so determined, and he could tell at a glance that he was on a death mission. He was still pretending. Could it be that he had been pretending to be strong for so long that even he believed it now? I now give you a chance to choose one of two. First, either send me there, or second, stop the ship and let me get off. I hope you will not make the third choice, that is, I will destroy this battleship and myself go down. The giant ape didn't seem to have any intention to talk to the captain, so he spoke coldly. In fact, this is also true. Jia Yan doesn't put much energy on a clone. Being able to say so many words is already extremely embarrassing. This, okay, sir, when we go back, let me, the soldiers on the battleship, die with you. Seeing Jia Yan's determination, the captain gritted his teeth and made such a decision. Oh? You're pretty good, you're brave. Jia Yan looked at the captain and felt a little surprised. For him, his decision was naturally because he knew that he was strong enough to be able to follow his captain, and he was also a courageous person. After all, people didn't know the true strength of Jia Yan's clone. I just escaped with my subordinates in the last war, and then all my comrades and good friends died in the battle to defend Orion Arm. Now I don't want to feel like this again, I don't want to do it, coward. Very good, then get up and take action. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Jia Yan nodded and had no desire to ask more about the captain. After all, he also knew that in this battlefield, every soldier would have a story to some extent. The superfast battleship continued to sail forward. Not long after, flashes and explosions in the starry sky appeared in front of them. The entire interstellar space is full of traces of war. Here we are, is this the Empire's fleet? What a terrifying and powerful man. By the time this superfast ship arrived, the war had reached an extremely alarming level. Many biochemical star fleets controlled by the Orion Arm, as well as the fleets of biochemical star domain civilians who voluntarily came to resist the Empire, were fighting bravely to kill the enemy. On the contrary, the fleet of the Orion Arm is a bit unable to intervene, because their strength is really too weak. Not only are they far behind the strong ones, but the technological content of the battleships is also very low. The lone enemy fired 1 or 2 shots. However, the presence of the Orion Arm in the war does not mean that it does not play a crucial role. Naturally, this character exists, and even without him, the alliance between the biochemical star territory and the Orion Arm might have been defeated long ago on the battlefield here. That is the strong man of Jia Yan's team guarding this front. It should even be said that he is the temporarily most powerful existence in Jia Yan's team. He is the cowherd. At this time, the cowherd was flying in the starry sky with great momentum. Haha, with such strength, You dare to attack my side of the battle line. It's simply ridiculous. 2.5-star mid-level ordinary strongmen came here and wanted to deal with me. Do you look down on me, the cowherd? Give me death. The sound of the heavenly cowherd laughing wildly was completely incompatible with the overall situation of the biochemical star field and the Orion Arm fleet being retreating around them. He fought fiercely with the mid-level stellar beings from the two empires on his own, and even used his extremely terrifying explosive power to make the two mid-level stellar beings keep retreating, and even showed signs of almost dying several times. It's scary. Wasn't it true that Cowherd was definitely suppressed by our two mid-level stars in the pre-war analysis today? Why is his strength so much higher than our estimate? This is definitely not a problem with our data, but this guy's strength is much stronger than it has been for more than 6 years. It's scary. Why has his strength improved so much? The two Empire's stellar mid-level creatures both complained endlessly during the battle with the Cowherd. They know that the members of Jia Yan's team are not simple in strength. Even the Tianyi Alang they are about to face will be the most terrifying one in Jia Yan's team, and they have made complete preparations beforehand. They were prepared, thinking that even if they could not kill the Cowherd, they would be sure to drag the Cowherd into the battlefield where they were fighting, unable to rescue the fleet next to them. But looking at it now, the fighting power of Cowherd that day completely exceeded their level of preparation beforehand, making them unbelievable. This was the same man who had just stepped into the middle level of the star 6 years ago and caused a great sensation in the biochemical star field. One of his great subordinates. Although he is also a mid-level star, the current heavenly Cowherd is at least a very terrifying person among the mid-level stars. Their two mid-level stellar creatures may not be able to hold on for long. Quick, quick, come here and besiege him. The battleships should also use all their strength. Hurry and defeat their front, and then we can drive away this Cowherd with all our strength. A mid-level stellar creature quickly shouted to the three surrounding primary-level Imperial creatures. Their plan was to add 3 more elementary stellar creatures to join forces to fight the Cowherd to a draw. Even if they would be at a slight disadvantage, at least they would not die. Then the surrounding warships quickly attacked the biochemical star domain and the Orion Arm fleet. When the fleets were destroyed, the cowboys would be besieged by the fleet weapons and their strong men. No matter how powerful they were, they would have to escape. By then, even if the situation on the front line is open, although it is estimated that it is still impossible to keep this Cowherd, once you feel his strength, you can just ask the 2 lower-level adults to come over and destroy him. Their calculation was very good, and the other 3 elementary creatures from the star, who were originally helping the fleet attack the biochemical starfield fleet, rushed over quickly. Seeing the terror of the creatures in Jia Yan's team, the powerful men at the beginning of these 3 stars were all slightly frightened. As the 2 seniors on their side, how could they not know the strength of the 2 middle-level stars? Originally, for them, it seemed that except for the 2 strongest men in the Empire, that is, the 2 lower-level stars. Except for the powerful ones, the almost invincible creatures could not defeat a stellar mid-level creature from the Orion Arm when they joined forces. This made them suddenly feel that there seemed to be mountains beyond the mountains in this world. Die. The primary creatures from the 3 stars were besieging him, and the pressure on the Cowherd was indeed greatly increased. If it weren't for the fact that I didn't fully understand the power of yin and yang that Lord Jia Yan taught me last time, I really wouldn't be afraid of you this time. When Tianyi Alang saw a group of elementary stellar creatures coming to besiege him, the arrogance in his heart also dissipated slightly, and he became calmer and dignified. You must know that even if he has to deal with 2 mid-level stars and 3 primary-level creatures from stars, it will be more difficult. Just when the Cowherd and the 5 powerful stars were fighting evenly, a battleship that did not look very large slowly approached the battlefield from a corner of the battlefield. Sir, we are here. Do you think we should fight directly on the edge of the battlefield, or rush closer? In this superfast ship, the captain's meaning is very simple, that is, he now wants to see if the pretender in front of him is really pretending, or in other words, he really wants to participate in this event. A war? No, just stop here. Jia Yan's response. This made the captain sneer from the bottom of his heart and say, as expected. This pretender came to join the battle. Maybe when it becomes dangerous later, he will make their warship leave quickly, and by leaving like this, he will also gain some military merit, which makes the captain feel slightly it's so disgusting, he hates such people who steal military merit the most. What's more, in his opinion, this battle is very dangerous. If they lose, let alone military merit, their departure may lead to the Orion Arm military court. And this half-star strong man is definitely not needed. After all, he is a strong man with such terrifying strength. Maybe when they in this battleship go to the military court, this strong man will be punished by the above. Care, after all, this is how the strong are treated differently. The captain was waiting for Jia Yan's next words, which might be, oh, the battlefield here is very fierce. In order to protect this precious superfast ship from being attacked, we should leave quickly. He already guessed what this giant ape creature would say. But what the captain didn't expect was this. After the giant ape ordered them to leave, he walked towards the bridge. You just put me down and I join the battle. This superfast ship is very precious to the Allies. You can leave the battlefield. In other words, your mission is over. Jia Yan's words made the captain, who originally wanted to hear Jia Yan's words of giving in and trying to escape, was suddenly stunned for a while. What did he hear? When this guy saw such a terrifying battle scene, not only did he not say he wanted to run away, but on the contrary, he actually wanted to go out and fight. Are you even considering them and want them to leave the battlefield? This is completely different from what he thought. How could this happen? Is this guy really self-hypnotized to this point in his heart and completely thinks that he is as strong as the savior? My lord, please think clearly. The current war situation is not something that a star and a half can intervene in. The captain stepped forward quickly and couldn't help but say these words. Oh? I'm a half-star powerhouse? How did you know that? Jia Yan shook his head and couldn't help but ask when he heard that he was a semi-star powerhouse. Ah? Are you a half-star powerhouse? Well, what kind of powerhouse are you? Are you only at the venerable level? Let alone that. A supreme creature must be in this kind of battlefield. You were killed as soon as you landed. Sir, I don't mean to look down on you, but since you are the person above who asked us to transport you, you must have a greater role, rather than being sent away in such an inexplicable place. Life. The captain's kindness made Jia Yan smile helplessly. Am I a venerable? And will I lose my life here? That's all. You don't have to leave. Just stay here and see. Next, you will know whether I am a venerable. Jia Yan didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and then he ignored the captain and flew out of the superfast ship. In the central circle of the battlefield on the other side, an intelligence ship has discovered the superfast ship here. There is a slow-moving battleship approaching over there. According to the recognition signal, it is our enemy. Are we going to destroy it? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1619. Destroy it? No, a biological signal appears from this battleship. Zoom in to see his strength. This should be the enemy's support ship, but what's the use of such a small warship? It also releases a creature. Could it be a half-star? But it's useless. Except for star-level powerhouses, if a semi-star powerhouse enters a battlefield like this, a salvo of artillery fire from the fleet can kill him to the point where nothing is left. Among the fleets in this battlefield, the side with overwhelming strength is naturally the Empire, which has been carefully prepared for a long time. And this ultra-fast warship that flew from the periphery of the battlefield to recognize the signal of the Orion arm at an unknown time did not cause much shock to the Empire here. As for the creature that flew out of the battleship, it was also nothing worth worrying about for the Empire, because to the Empire, they had already figured out the details of the Orion arm and the biochemical star field. Although it feels like the domains have been merged, the actual strength is only a few members of Jia Yan's team who are the most terrifying. Most of the middle-level star powerhouses in the biochemical star domain have died, and the number of primary-level stars is not very large. Moreover, at this time they are not in this starry sky, so no matter how strong they are, they will not be star-level experts. Let me go get a lesson on this coming creature. It looks like he is only about 1.5 stars in size. I hope he can fight with me. A half-star high-level creature here suddenly smiled and flew out of his battleship. In the battle on the main battlefield, a semi-star like him could not be said to dominate, so he wanted to do something on the periphery, so that he could gain a reputation by resisting the enemy's reinforcements. After this half-star creature flew out, the creature that flew over, which looked like a giant ape, suddenly smiled. He is Jia Yan. At this time, in fact, judging from the strength of this avatar, he is basically a half-star level brainwave power. However, for a lower-level star like him, or even an infinitely close to galaxy-level biological avatar, can brainwave power be measured? Therefore, his brainwave power is at the semi-star level, and his practical combat skills, coupled with the help of Yin and Yang Dao, make his combat effectiveness at least that of a star level. So at this moment, Jia Yan felt a little bit amused that the person approaching him was actually just a half-star high-level powerhouse. Do you think a half-star high-level person can handle me? That's fine. I'll slowly get used to the feeling of fighting with a clone. Behind Jia Yan, the captain in the super-fast ship saw that Jia Yan had just flown out. He didn't even hit the ordinary battleship too much, but he was targeted by a strong man with a semi-star level from the enemy. So his expression changed wildly. The heroic words just now were no longer there. He ordered his subordinates behind him to be prepared to fly back with all their strength. In fact, the heroic words he just made only had certain means to dare to rush into the battlefield like this. After all, what they had in hand was for a super-fast battleship. If they find that the situation is not favorable to their side, it is possible for them to leave the battlefield directly. Captain, in my opinion, although the flying master is a bit reckless, he must be somewhat capable. At least he will not be defeated in such a short time, so there is no need to be afraid. A deputy captain spoke to the captain. Well, I think so too, but we must be well prepared for retreat. I don't know what the mentality of such a strong man is, and even if he is powerful, he will never be able to protect a battleship like ours. We must be fully prepared, otherwise when our warship is attacked later, we won't even have the chance to cry. Although the captain agreed with the vice-captain's words, he did not waver at all about preparing his subordinates. Of course, others will not refute it. After all, it is about your own life. Oh, die. The semi-star enemy who flew out of the Imperial warship launched his own attack when he saw Jia Yan coming. To him, a half-star level expert from the biochemical star realm is nothing at all. He has fought many creatures from the biochemical star realm in the past few years of the war in the other half of the biochemical star realm. Although he faced the other half of the biochemical star realm experts with the help of the Orion arm this time, he did not think that the biochemical star realm existence in front of him would be any different from other biochemical star realm half-stars. As for the half-star powerhouse in the Orion arm, this possibility is simply not possible, because they have never heard of the half-star in the Orion arm. With one strike, he thought that the half-star level of the biochemical star field in front of him would definitely be in a hurry, because the half-star level of the biochemical star field had almost no resistance to his move. Oh! It's actually an attack from the bottom up. It seems that this guy has studied a lot about the creatures in the biochemical star field. Unfortunately, I am not a creature in the biochemical star field. Jia Yan looked at the creature in front of him, and he actually used his skillful fighting skills against the biochemical star field, and his face turned funny for a while. He actually used the unique fighting method of the biochemical star realm against him. It seemed that the strong man of the Orion arm was not favored in this battle. Of course, the Orion arm isn't even strong, so it's natural for others not to be optimistic about it. But Jia Yan is not prepared to act in the name of a strong man with the Orion arm. After all, he cannot be regarded as a complete strong man with the Orion arm. Even if he says he is born on Earth, the actual places where his strength grows are all on alien planets. And no one in the Orion arm now knows that Jia Yan is the ancestor of the giant Mosquito. One lie requires many lies to make up for it, so Jia Yan told so many facts. You want me to die, but I can't. Jia Yan smiled faintly, and suddenly penetrated into the subspace just before the semi-star creature attacked. Hey, it turns out to be a subspace talent. There are so many strong space talent in the biochemical star territory. It is somewhat similar to Jia Yan, the only semi-star level existence in the Orion arm. The half-star of the Empire is not like the distant realm of gods who thinks that subspace talents are something serious, because although there are not many subspace talents here, they can still be seen occasionally. Get out of here. He looked behind him. After all, he had fought against subspace talents. He could tell at a glance that Jia Yan was flying inside a subspace. One blow hit the starry sky. Puff. Subspace explosion. For a half-star powerhouse, it is already a very amazing thing to be able to cause subspace explosion. And this half-star high-level creature has completed this kind of almost half-star power. Only the top existence can accomplish this completely. There was a burst of admiration in the surrounding Imperial battleships. The superfast ship watching from a distance retreated faster. After all, if Jia Yan died, it would be their turn next. He must be dead. Entering the subspace and being smashed by me into the subspace is tantamount to asking for death. The creature from the semi-stellar empire looked at the broken subspace and sneered. They already have their own way of dealing with the subspace, and this method is actually very efficient. After all, the creatures in the subspace only move within the subspace, but cannot protect the subspace around them. Even because of the fragility of the subspace, as long as a piece of subspace is shattered, the creatures inside will be easily torn apart by the subspace itself. Therefore, there is no absolutely good talent in the world, such as subspace talent. Once the right method is found, one can be killed easily. But is Jia Yan a creature that can be killed so easily? Even if this is just a clone of him, it can't even be said to possess subspace talent. It just inherited a trace of subspace understanding from the real body, but this little bit of understanding is by no means an ordinary half-star. A high-level strong person can kill him. Buzz. When the proud half-star Empire creature thought that Jia Yan had died under his attack, a gap suddenly opened in the subspace behind him. Then from this gap, a lightning-like fist blasted out directly. The advantage of this giant ape clone is that it is similar to the people on Earth. Jia Yan directly used the fighting fists learned by some people on Earth, and punched out, feeling refreshing. The attack in an instant made the half-star enemy who felt a little proud was dumbfounded and unable to react at all, and was hit in the chest by this punch. This. He stared blankly at his chest, where a huge fist was thrust out of his chest, completely shattering his heart. In other words, even if he is temporarily supported by the extremely powerful vitality, death will only happen in a while. Of course, if he was treated immediately, or even replaced with a different heart, although his strength would definitely plummet, it would still be possible to save a life. But will Jia Yan give him this chance? This friend, please. The half-star warrior of the Empire was about to say something to beg for mercy, but Jia Yan didn't give him this chance at all. The power of the brainwave was like a shocking shock wave, which directly passed through the fist and exploded in the chest of this Empire's semi-star high-level creature. Bang! The half-star creature still had panic on its face, but it could only be blown to pieces with this look on its face. Ah! How could it be possible? Master Enbai is actually dead. One blow, only one blow. Is this coming from a half-star peak powerhouse? It shouldn't be. Even a peak powerhouse can't kill you with one blow. My lord must have underestimated the enemy. Come on, we can no longer underestimate the enemy. This coming creature must have a certain degree of confidence if it dares to attack from the side of our fleet. It is indeed the case now. Kill and avenge your lord. A group of warships, as if they had seen some military exploits, rushed towards Jia Yan's giant ape clone. You know, they were originally worried about being in this battlefield. They could only serve as backup and had no chance to gain military honors. Now, in the battlefield here, one more person killed one of their half-stars. The creature, of course, charged immediately. If Jia Yan hadn't killed one of the enemy's half-stars, then his value wouldn't have been that great, but now that he's killed one, it would definitely be more valuable. After all, everyone knows that such a one can kill a high-level half-star creature on their side must be worth a lot of military merit. As for its combat effectiveness, they are not worried at all. Half-stars are strong, and if they are strong enough to kill all the high-level half-stars here, then they are even stronger. But a half-star is still a half-star, and no matter how powerful the half-star is, it is still within the range of a half-star. So when it comes to battleships, at least the battleships of their empire, if they are besieged by a few ships, 1.5 stars really have no chance of defeating so many battleships. Even under the siege of dozens of battleships, 1.5 stars can't defeat so many battleships. There is a high chance that half-stars will be killed directly. So they all rushed over like crazy, trying to grab this military honor, and they didn't think they would be in any danger. There were not just dozens, but at least hundreds of warships swarming towards Jia Yan. With such a number of warships, 1.5 stars would definitely not be able to resist them. It would take at least a pseudo-star warrior to have a certain chance of resisting. Die. Main gun, fire. Destroy him. Each warship issued an order to open fire. The instantaneous firing completely covered the place where Jia Yan, the giant ape's clone, was. After pieces of sparks covered this area, the heaven and earth were turned upside down, and flames appeared instantly. It looked exceptionally beautiful at first glance. But this beauty comes at the price of blood and tears. Similar fires in the starry sky will cause huge casualties every time, especially in this battlefield. A huge number of members of the battleships of the biochemical star domain and Orion arm will die under similar fires every time. Of course, the Empire also suffered huge casualties, but compared to the biochemical star field and Orion arm, it was far behind. Oh, the intensity of the fire, the accuracy of the shots, and even the calculation of my escape distance are very accurate. It is indeed a powerful imperial civilization. At this moment, Jia Yan still didn't have much fear. Then, when groups of battleships' artillery fire, and even subspace artillery fire, covered his side. Buzz. A piece of subspace distortion appeared instantly. Then, between the heaven and the earth, the endless artillery fire and extremely bright rays were all twisted away in this distortion. It was twisted everywhere, but only where Jia Yan's clone was, no attack could land on him. This. What's this? Let me go, the adult we carried just now is so scary. Not only the Imperial warships were all silent, but even the super speed ship behind Jia Yan, all the crew members spoke in disbelief. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1620. For the Empire, their advantage against the coalition forces of the biochemical star territory and the Orion arm is still huge. Not only is there a huge gap between the two sides in the areas where the strong can do it, but there is also a huge gap in basic technological levels. But at this moment, they had the illusion that they didn't have enough strong men on their side. Several astral levels over there were forced to join forces by Tianyi Alang, a member of Jia Yan's team, to fight, but they were still unable to determine the winner. A creature suspected of being a half-star appeared somewhere here, and it actually killed a powerful half-star in their empire in an instant. Now, even their proud warships joined forces to launch a volley. Using this, there is no way around half a star. This is no longer half-star level, at least pseudo-star level. Don't be afraid, he just has weird tactics. Our instruments have always shown that his total brainwave power is only that of a half-Hawaii star. In a group of battleships rushing towards him, a commander of the battleship looked ferocious. He was actually a subordinate of the half-star powerhouse who died just now. Now that he knew that his boss had died, he knew that the future would be here. He could not die in a battle, and his status in the Empire's military had definitely plummeted. So at this moment, he really had the idea of dying with his boss. So he desperately encouraged the surrounding warships to fight Jia Yan to the death. Moreover, the surrounding battleships really believed him and charged towards Jia Yan quickly. The charging battleship is very terrifying. Although space battleships are usually abused when facing strong men, in fact, on the battlefield, there are many cases where strong men are killed by space battleships. After all, this kind of battleship that has reached the level of being able to sail in the universe can kill a strong person even if it accelerates to an extremely fast collision. Even a star-level strong person can be killed by a battleship that accelerates to the fastest speed. If hit head-on, he might also be shattered to pieces. Of course, stellar-level powerhouses have easy ways to avoid them. If they were killed by battleships so easily, stellar-level beings would not have such a high status in the universe. The problem is that no one thinks that the total amount of brainwave power is only half a star-level giant ape creature, but it has star-level strength. Collide. A warship flew over and crashed into the distortion Jia Yan had just created. This is not an ordinary energy beam, but a huge battleship. A battleship coupled with its impact power is definitely difficult for a strong person to withstand. Even stellar-level creatures may have to temporarily avoid the edge. But you have to be able to avoid it. No one thinks that the giant ape can avoid it. Oh! You came right up and hit me, but I'm not an ordinary half-star. If you really want to hit me, you'll definitely have to pay the price. Jia Yan looked at the 5-kilometer-long warship that hit it. It was much larger than his clone. The powerful impact also made him feel slightly shocked. Unfortunately, that was it. When Jia Yan sneered, another positive and negative force suddenly came out from inside his body. The force of the impact was instantly suppressed by two forces, one positive and one negative. It was like a slippery loach, and it slid aside in an instant. The battleship flew away, but Jia Yan did not give up attacking them. He released extremely amazing brainwave power in an instant, completely killing all the creatures in the battleship. Even the venerable level creatures looked like other weak creatures. Just like a living body, it can be killed directly by a brainwave power. This involves the ability to use brainwave power. Although the brainwave power used by Jia Yan is at the level of a semi-star powerhouse, his use and utilization of brainwave power is by no means an ordinary half-star level. What can be compared, and others may not have noticed it yet, is that in the process of using the power, Jia Yan has always had new power coming to his body quickly from somewhere in the dark. So this made Jia Yan seem to have endless power. This coming power is Jia Yan's true body supporting this clone. A strong man who has reached nearly galactic level releases his power into his clone. This is definitely not a power that can be underestimated. Although the clone has no chance to use more than half a star due to its own energy limit. Super strength, but he can possess almost unlimited power. After all, in addition to being a terrifying level powerhouse, Jia Yan is also an evolved beast with a famous physical strength. His power can be restored quickly, and even a clone can fight. It is difficult to cause any big fluctuations in his physical fitness. So he continued to use his super move. Puff. Another battleship collided unexpectedly, twisting and sliding away due to Jia Yan's fluctuating power. Then Jia Yan followed with his brainwave power and completely killed all the creatures in the battleship. The second and third ships. The 10th and 20th ships. It was okay at first. Even if the Imperial warships on the other side were confident in the strength of their fleet, they also knew that they were facing a strong man. If a strong man was so easy to kill, he would not be a strong man. They were also prepared to lose several battleships. But when Jia Yan's strength exceeded their imagination, and he killed the battleships here one after another, but he himself did not show any trace of fatigue, the attacking battleships all shocked. What's going on? This guy's endurance is too good. Forget one or two ships. He used all the power of a half-star powerhouse on each ship, but he didn't lose any power as he fought. This is very confusing. No, something is very wrong. This guy's strength is probably not as simple as an ordinary half-star level. Let's stop thinking. We should cherish our lives. Also, hurry up and tell the stellar adults behind us. If this guy gets through, the entire battlefield will be in chaos. One by one, warship commanders passed their calls for help to the battlefield on the other side of the war. Their signals were received by several stellar-level creatures. Huh? We are still dealing with a creature of the giant Mosquito family here. These outsiders, dealing with such backward biochemical starfields and Orion arm battleships, actually want to ask for help from us? How did the war come to this point? A star-level being suddenly aimed at the beetle-like body of the beetle and used his brainwave power. Then, before the beetle had time to counterattack, he fled aside with his head in his arms. This thrilling scene happened to several ordinary star primary creatures. The strength of the heavenly cowherd is so terrifying. If these elementary star-level creatures like them are not careful, they will almost die in one blow in front of him. No, I'd better use this letter for help as an excuse to go over and have a look. If I stay here, I might die. The cowherd is extremely scary today. This stellar existence quickly withdrew from the battlefield. Several other star-level creatures looked at him with envy, thinking that it would be good if something went wrong in the area they were responsible for, so that they would have a reason to escape. When the star-level creature flew to the battlefield in the area he was responsible for, he saw a scene that made him froze slightly. It is actually the ability to use power in both positive and negative directions superbly, but this is just a trick, and it is very different from our orthodox cosmic powerhouses. It's just that this power seems a bit similar to that of the cowherd. This star-level creature felt a little surprised by Jia Yan's clone, which was killing battleships like ants in the starry sky. But it was just a surprise. The half-star power in the giant ape's body was extremely strong, and it had just reached the half-star level. He didn't think that he, a powerful star-level man, would even have such a strong feeling. Even half-star level enemies can't deal with them, even if the opponent's abilities are very magical. As I have said before, the strong ones in the universe will always be strong. The law of power applies everywhere. Even if a star-level creature encounters a method of exerting power that it has never encountered before, even the race, as long as he has stellar power, he will still be crushed. If the barriers between powers were so easy to cross, then there would be no need for the cosmic powerhouse to exist. Give me, die. When the primary star creature appeared, when it saw Jia Yan, it chuckled, and then stepped across the seemingly endless distance and rushed directly in front of Jia Yan. At this time, Jia Yan's clone, the giant ape with impressive strength, had his eyes slightly solemn. Here he comes, a creature of the elementary level of a star. It just so happens that I know the power of this clone and the method of using it. It's time to see where the limit of fighting with him is. I hope I can deal with it. A star. At this moment, Jia Yan was full of expectations for his clone. The star-level creature in front of him was naturally terrifying, but to Jia Yan, at least from the perspective of his true form, it was simply not worth mentioning. So when it came to Jia Yan with a flash of fighting aura and struck down, the giant ape's eyes were still full of indifference. What kind of look is that? How dare you look down on me? Humph, die. At that moment, the star-level powerhouse felt that Jia Yan's gaze did not seem to be directed at him, a star-level powerhouse, actually taking action against him personally. Instead, he was shocked and frightened. Instead, he felt he was indifferent, as if this half-star creature looked down on such a great master like him. As a result, its energy instantly exploded, and it wanted to kill this semi-star level creature that dared to despise itself and turn it into ashes with a single blow. Ah! Jia Yan, who was here, smiled slightly. It is true that there is the law of the strong in the universe, and he admits this, but the law of the strong is what he truly relies on now. His true strength is that of a lower-level star. Even though the brainwave power of this clone is only half-star level, the use of power and the sense of crisis and battle are all those of a lower-level star, or even a star. It could only be possessed by a lower-level star who could jump up and kill the enemy, so what else was he afraid of? In the starry sky, countless battleships are watching this scene. Even the heavenly cowherd who was fighting in the distance, as well as several other star-level experts besieging him, were also paying attention. Tian Nialang actually didn't know who was coming, but during the battle just now, he slightly sensed some fluctuations in the battle here, and was stunned for a moment. He was almost killed by a mid-level Imperial warrior of the star, hitting the vital point. Fortunately, he avoided the blow, but he was even more shocked by the battlefield in the distance and kept watching the battle there. In addition, several star-level players in the confrontation also turned their perspective to the battlefield over there after seeing his performance. After discovering that he was just a half-star level creature, they also sneered. Knowing that this biochemical star in the domain and the Orion arm, except for a few midstellar creatures such as the cowherd, there are not even the existence of the first-level stars, directly cut off to the semi-stellar level, so in such a battlefield, you can still expect a half-star stellar-level powerhouse. But what they couldn't predict was that the strength of the half-star level creatures was so astonishing that one battleship after another was killed by it. And now, they saw a stellar warrior coming from the battlefield here to support them. The half-star creature didn't choose to escape immediately, but instead fought against this stellar warrior. This surprised them greatly. The surprise of all the creatures only happened in an instant, but the battle over there had already begun. Puff. The blow from the star-level creature hit Jia Yan between the positive and negative forces caused by the yin and yang dao. Jia Yan felt a fighting force completely different from his previous experience, suddenly bombarded by the power of his yin and yang dao domain. This power may be similar to the power of a battleship collision, but this is the power controlled by a strong man, which is completely different. Under the control of a strong man, this power ferociously penetrated into the gap between yin and yang dao, and then struck directly in front of Jia Yan. As expected, he is indeed a strong man. It is the first time I see such a fighting method and I can think of a way to deal with it. Jia Yan was extremely impressed by the strength of the strong man. But that's it? If another star-level creature comes, it can also do this kind of thing, because this is only something that strong people can do. And his yin and yang dao is far more than that. Blow it up for me. When this star-level creature arrived, Jia Yan's clone's eyes suddenly became intense like never before. His eyes revealed the confidence and majesty that only a top powerhouse could have. This is... Boom. The creature at the elementary level of the star didn't even want to understand why this half-star powerhouse still had such a confident look and a shocking sense of power after being touched by him. The surface of the strong man's body exploded directly. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1621. Among Jia Yan's subordinates, if we want to talk about explosive power in battle, it is Tianyi Alang and another one who has developed the explosive yin and yang dao. Their explosive method adopts the characteristics of the positive and negative forces of yin and yang dao, that is, using the explosive power of this attribute, their usual strength can show an explosive increase of double or even several times. As the founder of Yin and Yang Tao, Jia Yan's understanding of Yin and Yang Tao can be said to be natural. Even though many of these moves are others' unique understandings, he can still learn from them and even develop his own more powerful ones. The Yin and Yang path comes. So when he and the star-level Empire powerhouse were directly bombarded face to face, all the onlookers thought that he was definitely going to die, but they found that this half-star level existence was behind him. At the last moment, terrifying power erupted, and then this power reached the stellar level astonishingly. The bombs from both sides clashed with each other, and suddenly the attack reached one point. Then, both of them retreated a lot. How could it be? You are actually a star-level powerhouse. Why, you are a star-level person, pretending to be a semi-star-level creature. Fortunately, I used some strength, otherwise I would have said you may be seriously injured or even killed, you are simply insidious and cunning. The opponent thought that Jia Yan must be using tactics to show weakness to the enemy, so after his expression changed wildly, he scolded Jia Yan for being shameless and using despicable tricks. But Jia Yan didn't care about the words of a weak person in his eyes, he just looked at his giant ape palm silently, and then nodded slightly. The strength of this clone is very suitable for him. He only reached the upper limit of half-star level strength, but after using his yin-yang dao, he was able to explode into star-level strength. Although this would be absolutely impossible for others, Jia Yan has yin-yang dao, plus he was originally a lower-level star, not even an ordinary lower-level star, so at this moment, he was able to use such a clone to perform an amazing act of combat strength. Or it should be said that every strong person who has reached the lower level of stellar strength will probably have a clone with a certain combat power. However, if you want to use the clone to burst out stellar level strength, you must at least have galaxy level strength. My strength is all a trick. After Jia Yan understood all this, he gave up thinking so much and instead turned his attention to the battle in front of him. Knowing that Jia Yan's avatar was actually a stellar-level imperial creature, his eyes turned solemn at this time. Where does this star level come from? Do you have any information? In the battleships far behind, they used their huge database to start inquiries, wanting to know what this sudden creature was. But no matter what kind of inspection they used, they couldn't find the creature in front of them. Whether it was the biochemical star field, the Orion arm, or their empire or several star fields around the empire, there was no such person. Traces of the existence of stellar powerhouses. Then there is only one explanation. This star-level creature comes from a more distant place. Bastard, I know why. This should be a mercenary invited by the giant Mosquito clan. What? Can a star-level person be hired as a mercenary? Don't such creatures just get whatever they want? We really don't understand the star level at all. In the group of battleships watching the battle from the rear, there were many giant apes who were interested in the battle at this time, and they thought they were creatures who knew his details. They all believe that Jia Yan is a being from another more distant star field who was hired as a mercenary by the giant Mosquito clan. Moreover, the commission for such a being is not low. It is even difficult to say that they will change their employment relationship. After all, mercenaries are a profession that relies on credibility, so their empire has never thought of persuading this enemy to leave. I actually know mercenaries, even such powerful mercenaries. What is the status of the giant Mosquito clan? Recruiting a star-level mercenary is not something you can do casually. But it's useless to be a star. Judging from his sense of strength, he is just a star-level creature. He may not even be as powerful as an ordinary star-level creature. We don't have to be afraid. Such a star-level creature will fundamentally can't control the progress of the war. Among the several star-level executives in the Empire, every one of them felt extremely wary of this star-level mercenary who suddenly appeared. But after thinking about it carefully, they didn't have too much to worry about, because astral-level men are indeed extremely rare in the universe. It is generally not that easy to ask people to sacrifice their lives for a war. And even if the giant Mosquito clan invites the star, it will not help the war. In other words, the Empire has nothing to worry about with an extra elementary creature from a mere star. With their strength, they can easily be crushed. But one is not enough, so what about two? In other words, two is not enough, so what about 3, 4, 5, or even more? None of the creatures in the Empire have thought about this possibility, because it is simply impossible to happen. Stellar-level experts are not big cabbages. How could they invite so many at once? If it were that simple, the war would be too easy. If you invite a team of stellar-level experts, wouldn't it be easy to fight the whole war? It's over. Humph, it's a star level, and it's not a very powerful star level. Maybe I can deal with it by myself. Come on, let's see if you, a foreigner invited by the giant Mosquito clan, have any abilities. The Imperial star-level being who fought with Jia Yan, after receiving the information behind him, just as a group of subordinates and senior officials believed that Jia Yan was just a mercenary from the outside world, then he has changed his style of play, that is, there is no need to fight to the death against the creature that is fighting him, because although most of the mercenaries are very trustworthy, if things cannot be done, they will leave very quickly. The place where the incident occurred. Boom. The two sides fought again in mid-air. Both Jia Yan and the other party took a big step back. Then the two stellar-level creatures quickly approached each other, and then continued to fight. Wow, it's scary. The fluctuations in the battle between the two star-class battleships made all the battleships on our side stagger around and almost capsize. Of course, these are two star-level stars. With the strength of our battleships, you will only die if you go up there. And you were lucky just now. I remember that you were among the battleships that charged to the star-level powerhouse just now. This ship is so lucky that it didn't die. Haha, we are lucky. I hope we won't be affected by the fluctuations of the battle next. The two battleships were having a conversation, but as soon as the one they were talking to said that he was lucky, he was suddenly scattered by a wave of waves, and the entire battleship was caught in a direct explosion. The instant explosion caused great fluctuations in the surrounding vacuum. But this has no effect on the two stellar powerhouses in the battle. For the stellar class, the explosions and fluctuations of battleships are not something worth noting. What's going on? When this guy fights me, he always bursts out with huge power when he is about to get close. His power is almost the same as mine. Why is this happening? The star-level expert from the Empire always felt something strange when facing Jia Yan. To say that it is powerful, the creature opposite is indeed strong, and its moves are as if it has seen through him, and it can often use suitable combat moves when he is most uncomfortable, making his own combat skills come to nothing. To be fair, he already knew that his fighting skills were absolutely incomparable to others. But there is another huge doubt, that is, this creature's combat skills are very high, but its actual strength is like every blow explodes with power at the end. At other times, whether it is retreating or moving, it seems that he is just like a semi-star level powerhouse. Even if he is fast, he cannot be much faster than a star level powerhouse. This made this star-level creature feel a little surprised, and even thought that there was definitely something wrong with it. but he never expected that the creature in front of him would be the clone of an extremely powerful person. If he knew about it, maybe this star-level creature would escape directly. After all, he can't even defeat his clone. If he fights with his real body, no matter how powerful the real body is, it will at least be better than him. A guy who can't even defeat his clones needs to be a lot stronger, right? Fortunately, Jia Yan's true form did not appear, or in other words, he was not in this area at all. But even if the real body is not present, the pressure this avatar brings to this star-level strong man is far greater than he imagined when he fought just now. Damn it, I obviously feel that he is very slow, but often when I chase and attack, he will use another kind of strength and skill that I can't even imagine, and the explosive power at the last moment to defeat me. What is this? What's going on? Is he looking down on me and hiding his strength now? The star-level creature of the Empire found it extremely difficult to accept the battle with Jia Yan. After all, Jia Yan was still in the state of a semi-star-level strongman when he dealt with him, and it was impossible for him to really he recognized his clone throughout the whole process and reached a star-level explosive state. After all, if he could maintain it forever, it would not be called a semi-star level clone, but should be said to be a constant breath level clone. Why is this? His fighting skills have reached a level that is completely impossible for me to achieve. Far away on the other side, the two mid-level stellar beings who were fighting the cowherd were also dumbfounded after observing the process of the battle. Oh, I know who you are. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect that you would deign to personally send a clone to deal with the strong man in this biochemical star field. The heavenly cowherd was different. After seeing several of Jia Yan's combat skills, as well as his skills and combat abilities in dealing with the enemies obviously not weak creatures, he knew that the creature in front of him looked nothing like a giant mosquito. It is Lord Jia Yan's clone. He had long known that Jia Yan had obtained a large number of clones in Taiya Kingdom, so he was not surprised at the appearance of Jia Yan's clones at this time. It is a pity that the strength of Jia Yan's clone is still a bit weak. It is about the strength of a star-level powerhouse at the beginning, and it cannot have a decisive result in this battle. Tian Nialang was helpless. Even though he was a stellar mid-level creature, he had no pressure to fight or even deal with most of the strong men in this battlefield. However, he was not optimistic about the outcome of Guan Yi's battle here. But the battlefield where two strong men were fighting slowly became anxious. Although there was a slight fluctuation in the battlefield due to the appearance of Jia Yan's clone, the overwhelming strength remained unchanged, and the Empire soon occupied it again. Actively, or even slowly, the Orion Arm and Biochemical Star Territory coalition forces were directly overwhelmed by the extremely stressful pressure, almost causing the coalition forces to collapse. At this moment, all the people in the Empire were extremely happy, and some people even started to celebrate the victory. The only thing is that the clone of the giant ape in the battle is silently counting the seconds. Finally, when the seconds in his countdown reached 0, another super-fast battleship with the identification number of the biochemical star domain has arrived on our battlefield. Is it another lone rescue? Haha, you still dare to come? There was a mercenary in the ship just now. Is there more coming now? I'm laughing to death. They are all here to die. One by one, the Imperial warship commanders almost burst into laughter. They believe that if the Biochemical Star Territory Alliance has such a role or line of defense, it would be too simple. After all, there are no tactics, and the rescue team that comes up to die one by one cannot be said to have any combat power at all. Just imagine, going up one by one and being beaten up, or coming up with a huge group of coalition forces to launch a frontal general attack against the enemy. Which of the two is more reasonable? It must be the latter. At this time, the Orion Arm Alliance in the Biochemical Star Territory was using the first plan in an unorganized manner. Let me do it this time. I don't believe there is another star-level existence there. On the Empire's side, an animal that looked like a ghost suddenly stood up. You're trying to steal the credit again, but it doesn't matter. You happen to be close, so you're lucky. The surrounding battleship commanders all felt a little bit envious because this guy happened to be on the route of the incoming battleship. In principle, he happened to be the one who had to deal with the incoming battleship, so this battle achievement must be his. No one believes that there is already a mercenary in this battlefield, and another mercenary will appear. After all, even if the giant Mosquito clan has money to hire, the number will never be too many, so there are many battlefields to go to. It would be nice to have one here. But something they didn't expect happened. Gah! You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1622. In the battlefield on the other side, another ultra-fast transport warship similar to the previous one arrived. Similar to the previous battleship, inside this battleship there was also a strong man who seemed to be only half a star. This strong man is also Jia Yan's clone, but his appearance is no longer that of a giant ape-like creature. After all, Jia Yan still wants to keep a low profile now, and he also wants to try various types of creatures and what it would be like to fight. This will at least allow him to grasp the types of fighting and be more familiar with certain characteristics of the enemy. Understand? So the semi-star level existence here is a creature similar to an elephant on Earth, with a long trunk and an extremely majestic feeling. Sir, we are at the battlefield here. You can get off the battleship. In this battleship, there is a soldier who does not seem to be so afraid of war. Unlike the captain in the previous superfast ship, the general biochemical starfield soldier creatures are not actually so afraid of war. After all, if you are really afraid, you will not join the army. The same is true for the captain. When Jia Yan, the clone, said that he wanted to come and join the battlefield here, he agreed with this and at the same time sped up. Speed, come here quickly. Okay, thank you. My performance should not disappoint you. Jia Yan's elephant-like clone nodded silently, and then flew towards the outside world with the power of his brain waves. In fact, this is a bit unfair to Jia Yan's real body. It is relatively simple to control the daily actions of 1 or 200 clones at the same time, but if you want to control several clones at the same time for high-intensity combat, it is not that easy. Now Jia Yan is fighting with 2 clones. If you want to control it well, and completely absorb these battle processes and insights for your own use, it is extremely difficult, and even a bit overwhelming. Jia Yan feels that he can't control it. But being unable to control still requires control. As a strong man, since he thinks so, he must find ways to achieve what he wants. What? The person disembarking from the battleship here is also a semi-star powerhouse who has not landed yet? It can't be the same trick as before, right? There is already a star-level existence over there to support us. If this unlinked half-star level is another star-level being, wouldn't it mean that the battlefield here will be even more corrupt? One after another, the captains of the Imperial battleships saw that the person disembarking from the superfast ship was a semi-star level strongman similar to the giant ape creature before. They quickly used the network system to investigate, but they were also unable to find out. In the large amount of information in the nearby star field, seeing the past information of this half-star powerhouse, there is a certain possibility that this creature may be the same as the giant ape creature, a member of the giant Mosquito clan. The mercenaries came to help. No, even if he is an alien creature, he is not necessarily a star. I don't believe that the giant Mosquito family can actually hire 2-star level mercenaries. How can they have such a big reputation? Yes, let's go over and try him. Several half-star masters in the fleet had already set their sights on the approaching half-star rescuer. After discussing with each other, they also believed that the other side would not send two major mercenaries in this battle. A star-level powerhouse, after all, the price to pay is too high, and premature exposure of the trump card is not a good thing for the Orion arm. So they came hand in hand. 3.5-star level experts. This empire really doesn't know how to learn. The past experience just now has been completely forgotten. The elephant creature here was controlled by Jia Yan. He flew silently and came to the edge of the battlefield. Although it seemed slower, this was because his mind was mainly focused on the battle on the other side. It is a clone of a giant ape, so it is difficult to take care of it here. But now, the elephant clone is about to fight, and Jia Yan's pressure has increased. Die. The 3.5-star level creatures arrived without any dialogue or explanation. They could also see that the new Orion arm signal recognition expert was flying a little weirdly. Although they didn't know why, they think this should be a signal for them to attack. It is easy to tell whether a creature's revealed state is true or false. For example, the elephant-like creature in front of us has many abnormal disguises and abnormal brainwave power during its flight state. This is like a person on Earth deliberately trying to fall while walking. Although there is a certain possibility that he is pretending, it can still make the enemy discover his disadvantages. At least this is definitely not an ordinary state. What's the point of a strong man exposing such flaws? So they launched a preemptive attack, hoping to take advantage of Jia Yan's elephant clone disease and kill him. But Jia Yan's previous flight was not really too strange, but it was because he needed to get familiar with the feeling of controlling two bodies to fight at the same time. For Jia Yan, he has too many clones. Even at this moment, he mainly controls the combat feeling of these two clones, but the other clones are also riding on battleships. Although they do not move much in those battleships, but the little sense of control in the body was still due to the huge number, which gave Jia Yan a huge burden, so the combat awareness of the two clones was much weaker. That's why his avatar behaved so unbearably, but these unbearable things are not that Jia Yan can't control it, but that he slowly found the touch and even the power of his brainwaves in these unbearable performances. The feeling of instability is because he is trying to release the power of his brainwaves to see where the limit is. In addition to the elephant clone here, the giant ape clone on the other end also showed a slight instability, which made the star-level creature that was fighting against him find a chance and almost severely injured the clone. Fortunately, the clone used the subspace talent in time to avoid the blow. Huh? Is there something wrong with this guy's brainwave power? Very good. It seems that there should be some problems with his brainwave power from the beginning. After all, he has not fully demonstrated stellar power until now. He can only show off his star-level power in battle. He had to use that kind of power in an instant, otherwise I wouldn't believe that he is a star. In that case, I will take advantage of his illness to kill him. The constant breath level expert who was fighting against this giant ape clone immediately launched an attack with great joy. The elephant creature here, after the brainwave power became unstable several times, controlled its body shape and dealt with the 3.5-star level experts in front of it. These mostly constant breath level beings shouldn't be a huge threat to me. Even if I burst out with strength and skills, killing them in an instant won't be a big deal. But the problem is that if I kill them, what will happen next? I will definitely have to face the last star-level powerhouse, and it is definitely impossible for Tianyi Alang to capture all the star-level beings. So when I meet a star-level person, with my current control power, I can control two major points. If you are dealing with a constant breath-level powerhouse, and it is a cross-level battle, then there is a certain possibility that one of the clones will die. The solemn feeling in Jia Yan's heart was very obvious. For him, the battles on both sides of the battlefield required his own attention. The best possibility was that neither of the clones on either side would die. After all, this is the first battle of controlling one's clones. If one dies, then some habitual thinking may appear in the future, thinking that it's okay if one dies. After all, there are so many. This kind of thinking is very bad. Jia Yan feels that if he has the ability to keep both clones alive, then he must try his best to complete this task. This means that he must make more use of his brainwave power and energy. Otherwise, it would be absolutely difficult for both of the clones to survive in such a severe situation at this time. But no matter how difficult it is, I will try. If I succeed, then I will have initially mastered the method of multitasking. In the future, even this battle plan can not only be used to control multiple clones, but also in the battle of the main body, it can play a huge role. The thoughts in Jia Yan's heart were spinning like lightning. Then the elephant cloned itself and reluctantly made an evasive action. But at this moment, the giant ape clones on the other side, and even the clones in many battleships, all made this move together, and one even broke the metal wall of the battleship. The movements of the elephant clone were very jerky, like a child who had just learned how to fight. The semi-constant breath level experts who came looked at each other in confusion. They did not think that this elephant expert was a creature that couldn't even walk well. After all, although his hiding was ugly, he still managed to avoid their attacks. But what does this mean? Is it a strange way of fighting? They can't figure it out. No matter what happens, we can just continue to attack, no matter if he is pretending to be crazy or not. 3.5-star level creatures suddenly launched attacks again. Fortunately, at this moment, Jia Yan, who was in the fleet far away from Luo Longxi, suddenly showed a smile. No matter what mistakes were made on the elephant clone's side, or what went wrong with the clones elsewhere, he knew that his first attempt was actually a complete success, even if it only had a small flaw. Success. Because while the elephant clone was making evasive movements, the other side was fighting a star-level powerhouse. There were countless dangerous giant ape clones in an instant, but they didn't move much out of the ordinary. This is an extremely huge improvement. For Jia Yan, the significance may not be as significant as the first human being to land on the moon. But the battle is still going on. If you are not careful, it is extremely dangerous for these two clones to still scream. Jia Yan continued to tense up his mind in silence, and then stared at everything in the distance. The battle between the two clones was like a tense movie in full swing, making everyone around them very nervous. Everyone can see that after the two clones appeared together, the giant ape creature fell into a feeling of weakness. This guy must have lost his physical fitness. Our side is about to win. It would be great if we can win. Then we will have one more star-level warrior here to drive away the cowherd that day. We will be victorious in this battlefield. In the battleship group that was fighting on one side, every Imperial creature expressed optimism about the powerful battle on the battlefield at this time. When the giant ape creature and the new elephant creature appeared just now, they were almost confused. After all, a star appeared out of nowhere for no reason, and then another creature appeared that looked very similar to him. They seemed a bit suspicious. With the possibility of star level, they could not panic. Unfortunately, after these two creatures appeared together, they were not very strong, and it even felt like the giant ape creature had become weaker. Don't be careless. That heavenly cowherd is still very strong. If we are not careful, he might catch the opportunity to kill a comrade who is a junior star. In that case, even if we can win this war, it will be a miserable victory. A mid-level star creature gave instructions to several strong men around him. Yes. Several powerful creatures naturally understand this truth. No matter how fierce the fighting around you is, even if many semi-star level experts are killed. However, the advantage of troops and the distribution of experts on the battlefield are all dominated by the Empire here, so the last point is the balance is placed on the cowherd. As long as they don't let the cowherd kill the strong man here, then the war will be won. The impact of the first large-scale war was extremely far-reaching. The losing and winning sides immediately had huge differences in mentality. They would never allow failure. Huh? There is actually someone who uses the talent of subspace coming from the other side, but the feeling of this power seems a bit weird, and the giant ape-like adult clone has also become weaker. Could it be? During the battle, Tianyi Alang was silently paying attention to the battle on one side. He fought with several mid-level stars, as well as many primary-level star creatures. Even so, he still showed no signs of defeat. It can be seen that Yin and Yang Dao is already an extremely amazing trump card for Tianyi Alang. But it was difficult for him to escape. Even if it were another member of Jia Yan's team, he might have been beaten and run away by now. So he could only watch Jia Yan's two clones, both of them locked in a bitter fight. At the same time, he was also wondering what the true identities of these two clones were. After all, it was hard for him to imagine that these two clones were actually controlled by Jia Yan. This would be something difficult to understand for a mid-level star, or even for most lower-level or even galaxy-level beings. But not long after the battle, after even the new elephant clone used several of Jia Yan's unique subspace talents, he finally made up his mind. Go on, it's really two clones of you. You are actually trying to control the two clones to fight. This is amazing. If you can control two clones, doesn't it mean that you will have two more clones that you can control in the future? Come as a clone. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1623. The cowherd finally understood, and he felt endless admiration in his heart. And everyone thinks that these two clones will be defeated, but I can see that as the master gradually gets used to controlling the two clones, his clone's combat effectiveness is getting stronger and stronger. It has begun. The beginning of what Tianyi Alang said was naturally the first show of the two clones, and they were ready to officially begin. Puff. As expected, when the cowherd decided this, the elephant clone in the battle seemed to have broken through some shackles, and then an elephant trunk was thrown onto the head of a semi-star opponent, and his head was directly thrown into a dross. How could it be that this creature's strength suddenly increased so much? Killing a half-star level creature with one strike. The strength of this monster cannot be underestimated. The other two half-star level beings have completely lost their mentality. 3.5-star level creatures came to attack them, but they ended up like this. It felt like the half-star level creatures in front of them were teasing them from the beginning. They play the same. After all, what kind of creature has such strength? It looks like it can't defeat them at first, but then suddenly bursts out with shocking power and kills a star and a half. If this is placed in ordinary novels, it may be easy to see, but in reality, it is like a baby suddenly jumping up and kicking an adult's head. It is simply impossible to happen, so it is not possible. There is only one explanation, and that is that this creature concealed its strength from the beginning. Run away, we can't fight. The two half-stars rushed forward again, and were knocked away one by Jia Yan, the elephant clone, as if it were sweeping away fallen leaves. It was immediately clear that their strength was comparable to that of the creature in front of them that they had looked down on before. It was completely impossible to compare, so the two monsters looked at each other and chose to escape. Oh, there was still a certain chance of escaping just now. Want to escape now? It's too late. At this moment, Jia Yan smiled faintly, and then suddenly took another step. The elephant clone suddenly rushed in front of a semi-star level creature. Puff. With one blow, the starry sky shook. Then an astonishing and terrifying shock erupted in this vacuum, and then the creature turned into powder under Jia Yan's attack. How come? This guy's attack method is exactly the same as that of the stellar mercenary on the other side. Another half-star who escaped saw that Jia Yan actually attacked and used a fighting method that was exactly the same as the giant ape star clone on the other side, except that the two monsters had different shapes. At this moment, it seemed to him that the brainwave powers of their two clones were very similar, and even the total amount of brainwave power was vaguely close. This discovery made him stunned, and he had no idea what kind of connection the creature in front of him had with the creature on the other side. Even at this moment, he felt that the strength of Jia Yan's clone seemed to be slowly getting closer to the giant ape creature on the other side. I shouldn't have thought this way. The creature that was besieged and about to die by 3 mere semi-star level creatures just now could actually be close to a star level adult. If he said this, the adult just now might kill him. But after this thought arose, he couldn't stop thinking about it at all. What is going on? The more I look at the brainwave powers of the two creatures, the closer they get. Why is this happening? I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. The creature couldn't figure it out, but he was destined to never figure it out. Bang! A burst that shook the subspace sounded in this universe that was supposed to be silent. Then this half-star creature showed an extremely shocked expression, and then fell to the ground and died unwillingly. How could this happen? Why was he able to completely kill 3.5-star level creatures in such a short period of time? This is no longer something that ordinary half-star level creatures can do. Why is this happening? It's impossible. The sense of power of this creature is almost exactly the same as that of the stellar powerhouse over there. Is there any connection between them? It's too strange. You say it's the same? No, it's definitely not the same. If it's the same, doesn't it mean that he is also a stellar powerhouse? If so, there will be problems with this battle. After Jia Yan's elephant clone killed 3.5-star level beings, he stood silently on the spot. After all, in this moment, he improved the combat effectiveness of the clones on this side a lot, and the clones on the other side appeared. There was an extremely huge power and attention vacuum, so just now he actually deliberately asked the giant ape clone to make an exaggerated evasive action, because this would have the least impact on energy. But even then, after his clone used most of its energy, the giant ape on the other side was still affected by its movements, and then it mechanically avoided the attack of the stellar powerhouse in a dangerous way. Huh? Why is this happening? I thought his mistake in movement was a trap to lure me to attack, but it doesn't look like it. The star-level creature felt that the giant ape star-level powerhouse in front of him was a little strange, but the strangeness passed in an instant, and then the feeling of fighting was the same as before. He did not dare to think about anything else, and hurriedly he was fighting against this giant ape who seemed to be much weaker. Die. And when the battle between the two stars here resumed, the elephant clone on the other side took the initiative to fly to the edge of the battlefield where the cowherd was. Seeing that he was so ignorant, one of the first-level experts from the Empire Fangxingxing in the battle suddenly broke away from the battle and struck at the giant elephant clone. To actually run into a stellar battlefield, you must be seeking death. This guy really has something wrong with his brain. He felt weird just now. Speaking of which, the same is true for the ape-like star class on the other side. Why are the two guys so similar? Is it because they are both mercenaries? At the edge of the battlefield, battleships one after another were discussing the sudden appearance of star-level warriors in the battlefield whose origins could not be traced. The Orion Arm invited them. Regarding their opinions, others thought that these two guys were definitely a little weird, as if they were a little stupid, but their actual fighting power was astonishingly terrifying. But no matter how amazing they are just two fools. One has reached the star level and is a bit difficult to deal with. The other is at the half-star level. Although he can defeat 3.5-star level opponents, he can reach the star level. What is going on in the battlefield of the strong? Since it's delivered to your door, you can't blame me. The star-level creature that rushed towards him saw Jia Yan's giant elephant clone acting stupidly, and felt it was funny and struck out at will. Just now, Jia Yan killed 3.5-star level experts, and he wanted to take action. However, due to the face of the experts, he felt that he had to share the credit with the surrounding battleships, and the young cowherd here without him, a star-level creature would be difficult to control. But it's different now. This giant elephant creature actually came to his door. After he quickly killed it, he returned to the battlefield. It was not a waste of time. Moreover, it was brought here by him. They are star-level creatures, no matter what. Fighting back doesn't make sense, right? This guy actually took the credit. Several star-level experts on one side shook their heads speechlessly. They had to deal with the cowherd, and they looked down upon such a semi-star junior opponent at all. No one thought that Jia Yan could escape the attack of this star-level being, let alone that the guy who had just fought back and forth with 3.5 star-level experts could actually fight with a star. The super creatures confronted each other. This is like the baby just now, suddenly able to fight with the world boxing champion. This is too unacceptable. But unfortunately, this kind of unacceptable thing happened in front of their eyes. Boom. When the star-level powerhouse casually attacked, the mountain-like giant elephant creature suddenly spurted out some kind of terrifying light in its eyes, and then stepped on one of its feet. A ripple of brainwave power. The ripples expanded rapidly, and then the expanding ripples suddenly merged with the attack of the stellar powerhouse. There was a loud noise in the universe. The attacking star-level creature just wanted to use the attack and then add the battle to besiege the cowherd. But just as he turned his head, he found that his brainwave power was bombarded by a violent force. After that, he turned his head back with a hint of surprise in his expression. I saw that his brainwave power was crushed by the giant elephant-like creature, and both of them were destroyed into nothingness. Haha, this is Lord Jia Yan. Not far away, the besieged Tianyulang discovered the origin of this move at a glance. It was exactly what the yin and yang Dao subordinate with explosive attributes was good at. Jia Yan even learned this, then it was used in clone combat. This is the same as the guy just now. Is he another half-star powerhouse disguised as a star? It's so weird, why is this happening? Just now he was fighting almost to death with 3.5 star level people, and now he can actually fight with a star level powerhouse. Could it be that a star level powerhouse can use 3.5 star level people to fight to the death? Can we deal with star-rated creatures? You are overthinking. The reason why the star class is a star class is because their strength is not comparable to that of the semi-star class. If the semi-star class can deal with the venerable, it can kill more than a dozen in one breath. But star-level creatures can kill thousands of them in one breath. They are not the same kind of creatures at all. Well, the guy just now is as strong as 3.5 star level experts. He is probably still the same as the star that appeared earlier. It's the same level, I guess it's just to show the enemy that it's weak, and then kill a star level creature with one blow, but this move didn't work. In the battleships around them, most of the soldiers still focused their attention on the battlefield where the strong men fought. Every soldier and senior officer was analyzing the battle in a self-righteous manner. But no matter how they analyzed it, they couldn't explain why Jia Yan, the giant elephant clone, was showing weakness to the enemy just now, but now he didn't use any trump card when he counterattacked, and couldn't seriously injure a star-level creature. What does it mean for a majestic star-level powerhouse to show weakness to his enemy just now? No matter whether it can be explained or not, in short, the giant elephant creature here fought with a star-level powerhouse again. Huh? This guy here is actually a little weaker again. Now he can only survive under my attack. When the giant elephant creature over there also fought against a star-level powerhouse, the star-level creature here who was fighting against the giant ape creature suddenly discovered that the old opponent in front of him was actually a lot weaker, and even there was a vague feeling of weirdness in his movements, as if he couldn't move properly. He didn't care what happened to this creature. After all, this was a battlefield. He had no thoughts of worrying about other people's bodies. He just wanted to seize this opportunity and kill it directly. As a result, his attacks and energy bursts became more and more astonishing. The giant ape creature was indeed at a disadvantage. Not only him, but also the giant elephant creature over there also fell into a weak or relatively weak state after the first blow of power, which gave people a sense of surprise. Middle. Humph, they are all such weak stars. No wonder you can only become mercenaries. You can't even conquer the starry sky, right? After observing these two stellar-level warriors joining the battlefield, the two mid-level stellar-class warriors who were fighting against the heavenly cowherd sneered. Oh? Do you think these two adults are weak? Then I can tell you that you are all wrong. He is very strong, much stronger than you imagine. The cowherd has been entangled with the two mid-level stellar creatures for so long, and naturally he heard their conversations. The two sides have been fighting until now, but they still have not fully revealed their trump cards. Although the cowherd has the upper hand everywhere, but against two stellar mid-level creatures, and not very simple stellar mid-level creatures, it was naturally not easy to win, so while the two sides were fighting, they simply looked at the skills of Jia Yan's two clones. Haha, he is strong. I think they are indeed strong, but there are some flaws in their brainwave power. They have not yet displayed true stellar brainwave power. Although I am sure that they are stellar powerhouses. But I definitely don't think they are that powerful. Them. No, it's him, you don't understand. Tian Nialang said something that made two other stellar powerhouses feel a little confused. But he didn't have much time to speak, because Tian Nialang then increased the intensity of his attack. Boom boom boom. The stellar mid-level battlefield here instantly became more brilliant. Tian Nialang wanted to show off his power in front of his boss. Oh! The cowherd did a good job, so, next, I will also perform. Since 2-star level clones can't do it, then, what about 3 or 4? Haha,